umuntu ozivayo asisize asithandazele. Ngicela simnike imic utata uzasithandazela asivulele ngomthandazo. Modimo ria uboka, ria uboka, ria uboka. Modimo ria uboka.
Yabu. Gaspar.
Alalila rinzirita bila wina asike sikhuleke. Babe egameni lenkosi uJesu Kristu waseNazaretha sithanda ukukubonga ithuba elihle osivulele lona ukuthi sihlanganyele siwumphakathi nezinkokheli zeprovince yethu yaseGauteng. Siyakhuleka Nkosi ukuthi nayi noma ikupho kuzokhulunywa la akube yiloko kuzoba usizo emphakathini, inkokheli zethu zazi ukuthi yini into esidingayo nento esikhona ukuyenza nosizo silifuna kubona. Siyabakhulekela ke uNkulunkulu oyingcwele ukuthi abakwenze ngesineke, bakwenze nangenhliziyo evumayo, nomphakathi udlulise ababhekene nako. Sicela ukuthi usenzele lokho egameni elihle nelinamandla igama elenkosi yethu uJesu. Amen.
Siyabonga tata kakhulu ngomthandazo. Before we proceed with the program yethu namhla, I want, in terms of Rule 56, Sub-Rule 1 and Sub-Rule 2 of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature Standing Rules, I would like to declare this wall, the Pimville Community Center, as a precinct of the legislature. The rule reads as follows. Rule 56, Sub-Rule 1, the legislature or a committee of the legislature may hold meetings outside of the ordinary precinct of the legislature. And Section 2 of the rule is, the speaker or the chairperson of any committee holding a meeting outside of the precinct of the legislature must declare that particular area a precinct of the legislature for the duration of the meeting. So it essentially means that we must all uphold the same level of mutual respect and respect the proceedings of this billing. So I now declare that this meeting is officially open. So siyanamkela nonke. I think it's important that I must indicate, I had introduced myself, ukuthi ndinguvuyiswa Jentile, ndingusihlalo we-petitions kwindlu yowiso-mthetho yaseGoli yama-petitions. So siyanamkela abantu base Johannesburg namuhla lana in these this is the first public hearing on this amendment bill. We have had a hearing with the stakeholder before, but this is the very first public hearing that we are doing, and we have brought it to Johannesburg. And this is mainly because we want to hear your views in relation to the amendment bill itself. And I am with the members of the committee who will introduce themselves. After introducing themselves, I want to acknowledge the chairperson, Councillor, I think he is here, of the Section 79 petitions in COJ, who I think also is here with the committee. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the councillor, Niyamazu Mamusizakele Mabuza, councillor Wenwalana, Ward 22. So I'll give the members, starting with Umemba Ndlovu this side, to introduce himself. After that, it will be the Section 79 chair with the committee of the COJ. After that, it will then be the councillor who will introduce, who will welcome all of us here today. So in that sequence, let's do that.
Sanibonani, ninjani, igama uThulani wakandlovu, member ye Petitions Standing Committee. Ngiyabonga.
Dumelang, dumelang, dumelang. Nagali bitso ke Ezra Letswalo, le nna ke leloko la komiti.
Molweni, Mijani, siyaphila nathi, kama ngo Ayanda wakwa Ali. I'm also a member of this committee. Diabulela.
Members, can I request if the Section 79 chairperson of the COJ, if he is here, that he introduces himself together with the committee? Are they here, Caesar? They are not here. All right. Because they are not here, and ideally, they are supposed to be here, because we are doing an amendment that is also meant to strengthen the work of the municipalities. So we will be checking why they are not here. Maybe they are running late because they were invited, but also they are supposed to be part of these processes. I will then allow the councillor to welcome us. Mrs. again. Sebenzile, please welcome us. Thanks.
Sanbonani. Sanbonani. Dumelang. Dimachegoni. Nazo. Asbongi. Thank you so much, Chair. And this is Ward 22, the Pimville Cliptown area. I'm Councillor Sebenzile Mabuza. We are the hosting ward. We are hosting the Petitions Committee. I must say, Uguti, I'm quite excited and happy that they decided to bring the petitions to come to our space and to discuss the issue. That is a burning issue. It really is a burning issue. So hence, I'm expecting maximum participation from the community, lento eklaleni. Enguthandayo ukuthi basukile laba khona, comfort of their own offices, they came to us as umphakathi. They came to us ukuzwa izikhalo zethu, and also not to impose things on us. They are here to say, ukuthi, here are the amendments. We are amending here and there and there. As a community, be aware of such. If you need any clarity, if kuna la unga understand ikona, the stage is open, the floor is open for all of us. Hence, this is a very participative kind of a meeting, because I know on the ground we have issues that you are raising with our offices as councillors. There are issues. The issues that I expect, Uguti, as Sitwele Lapa Eholweni, those are the issues. These are the people who will be dealing with. Mina, I'm like a messenger. You report to me. Mina, I do what I need to do. I then forward to them. They are the ones who will take a decision on a way forward. They are the ones who approve or not approve. So, let's use this opportunity to the maximum, So that when we leave here, ngabo two, siphuma lapha sesi understand ukuthi makukhulunywa nge-petition, yini kahle kahle, ene umsebenzi wayo yini. Siyakhala ngey'tradi, siyakhala ngama-humps, siyakhala itradi zivalwe ngamatshe, things like that. But we don't understand the land, the way and the processes of actually addressing that issue. So hence, I'm not going to talk on their behalf. I'm not going to answer on their behalf. They are here. They brought themselves here to us at 22 so that ikhalo zethu zizwakale and izikhalo nesikhalo somuntu ngamunye ngamunye, they will ensure ukuthi they address those issues. So what I'm saying ukuthi honorables, nami ngu honorable angithi. Honorables, yes, I'm so happy and excited ukuthi you decided to brace us, to brace this word, ukuthi nilete the Petitions Committee with all the chairpersons abalapha. I thank you so much. Thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu, Councillor, for welcoming us. But I think it's important, Councillor, that funa sinikhumbuze ningabahlali baseGoli that and I think also as a form of education, who the legislature is, who the councillor is, and yintoni le yenziwa ngumasipala, yintoni le yenziwa ilegislature, yintoni le yenziwa i-executive ekhokhelwa ngupremier uPhanyaza, because zinomsebenzi o different zonke. Eminye imibuzo nizayibuza mhlambi imibuzo councillor ne-executive yonke ye-council yase-COJ ebekumele uba iyakwazi uniphendula thina mhlambi siyi-legislature singaze ungakwazi uniphendula, kodwa ke sikhona loo nto ukuba kudala nisenza imizamo yokubuza ningafumani izimpendulo senizame yonke indlela sizakwazi ke mhlambi ukunincedisa. Can I just indicate, because we are diverse in our languages, that there is a gadget that you can be given by the team in our languages. If, for example, ungumuntu othetha iAfrikaans uzawuphakamisa isandla bazawuza kuwe bakunike igadget. If ubuwa siSotho kapa Sepedi batlatla wena bawufe gadget. IsiZulu nesiXhosa uzawuphakamisa isandla njengoba senitshilo, nesivenda nesitsonga kanjalo kanjalo. So if you are struggling in any way to hear us, zikhona eza gadgets ziyatranslator ukuze ukwazi ba zesivane sonke xa silapha. So ndizawucela into yobana uba if kukhona umuntu onengxaki mhlambi nokusiva in any particular way, they are then able to raise their hands. And for Africans, it's going to be channel 2 when you have your gadget. For Sesotho and Sepedi to be channel 3. For isiZulu to be channel 4, and for Chivenda and Sichonga it will be channel 1. So I'm going to request that you raise your hand if you struggle to hear us. Asitha usizwa maybe Sotho or manje uyasizwa isiZulu, maybe uzawustrugglisha bakunomuntu okhuluma isivenda ukuthi uphakamise isandla bakhona ukuphathela igadget. But also for those that want the services of the these interpreters mabaphakamise izandla, and the sign language interpreter as well is here. If there is any one of us here or okaphe umuntu ongazosiva, and the services are that side on my right, and it's going to be your left when we are sitting there. So ndiyacela ke niphakamise izandla even before we start kakuhle kwenzela into bana singashiyani sikwazi uvana, especially mhlawumbe abantu abadala who may struggle from time to time singazwani. Uphakamisa nje isandla bazaza kuwe. So I think let me speak to why we are gathered here today. Nizakhumbula especially abantu abadala who had lived during the time ngcinezelo ukuthi ama processes okupetitiona back in the day bekunzima uthola ukuthi uhamba uthola abantu abazosupporta le view nayo. If for example kunento eningayithandi nizahamba niqokelelane ni submit a big list of people mhlambi abangavumelani nani. So abangavumelani nalo service or nalonto leyo ngaleso sikhathi leso engasebenzi. And I think ukuba khona kohulumende wangoku onguhulumende wedemocracy kusincedisile because eGauteng Provincial Legislature ngo-1998 iprocess yokuba ne Petitions Act yaye yaqalwa eyayigunyaza abantu bakuthi ukuthi bakhone ukupetitiona on any service delivery issues. If, for an example, there's been a pothole here for over the 10 years, past 10 years, and you had gone to every avenue and no one listens to you, you then have a right to petition one, even outside how we do things before. Uthola ukuthi maybe for this petition to gain weight, kuzomela ngibheka abanye abantu abahlala nami lana, maybe sibe u10 ukuze sikhona ukupetition. So we come a long way. In 1998, the first act would have been adopted and passed at the legislature. Well, 2002 was kwenza amendments kle act yango 1998. Law Petitions Act yango 2002 is the principal act esiyireviewwayo namhlanje, and we are reviewing it because in our gaps. What we are doing as the Petitions Committee, our role is to hold executive accountable. The executive yakhi hostel and a project lana yaishiya, it's been 8 years. It must be able to explain to the community through the petitions why that hostel has not been utilized. Kunenkinga yesuwa, and you have been everywhere and the municipality doesn't listen to you. You have raised these issues with the provincial government. You then come to the Petitions Committee. We then mediate on your behalf between yourself and executive. So that is the role of the Petitions Committee. But we are here today because it could be that this current act has gaps in terms of responsive times. Uthola ukuthi you had raised issues over 6 months ago and you are not, you don't get a feedback in time. So we're here to say, let's review and check what is it that is going to work, that is within the constitution of the country. In building a strong act of petitions in this province that will speak to your needs as umhlali and also be responsive to your needs as umhlali wase Gauteng. So that is why we're here. We're here to get your inputs in relation to that. So you would know ke ukuthi sisuka kude. This Petitions Amendment Bill must be able to protect you, and it must also make you feel ngathi is safe to do what I'm doing, because sometimes when people petition bafila ngathi abekho safe. Maybe you are exposing a councillor, mamusebenzile umuntu ufila ngathi I had been to your house so many times, but my issues were then not taken care of. So it is going to protect you beyond a councillor, beyond the council itself, and we want those inputs from you, and that is why we are here today. So we want to encourage you that you raise your issues sharply in terms of building a strong, capable, but also responsive act ezakunincedisa into yobana xa nipetitionile, we are able then to respond to yourselves timelessly. I just want before that, because we're supposed to invite a presentation by the GPL on the role of the GPL. Sasithi niyazi ukuthi umasipala wenzani, iGauteng Provincial Legislature yenzani, igovernment yenzani. To say ukuthi manisenza lama inputs enizawenza lana, you don't only have to make them oral. Angithi abanye abantu would always feel ukuthi I would rather write and submit. We'll give you that opportunity outside the oral presentation, the inputs that we'll make here, that you can then make a follow-up. We'll provide the email that you can then submit the oral presentation. But I think importantly, before the presentation by public participation comes, is that when you are a legislator, you are a lawmaker. Masimelana, we are lawmakers. And because we are lawmakers, the laws that we come up with must be laws that protect our people. The laws that we come up with must be laws that make it easy for our people to interact with government. So your inputs then must then be channeled in terms and aligned to the Constitution. And our role as well as the GPL is to play oversight on government. Oh, government, now we hold them accountable. We hold executive accountable. And this is what makes us different from your MECs who are running departments. If he wrong, he wrong. If he right, he right. And for us to be able to do that, it is your inputs that will strengthen the work that we are doing. The views that you have, Manihle, and it has, if, you know, we think government can work if this and this and this can happen. That is what we are here for today. But it must then be in line to this amendment bill. So we'll give you that opportunity. But before that, can I then request someone from the People's Unit, Tebucho, or Unjabulo, to then do the presentation on the role of the legislature in 30 minutes, Njabulo, including questions. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members, colleagues. Am I audible? Let me start afresh. Good morning, Chairperson, members of the Standing Committee on Petitions, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you. As I've been introduced, my name is Jabulo Buthelezi. I come from the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. In the legislature, I come from the unit which is called Public Participation, and there is a sub-unit which is responsible for public education. That's where I'm coming from. I'm a public outreach education officer. My role as I'm standing before you, I know with some of the participants here, or the members of the community who are here, on Monday, I've done the workshop when we're doing the pre-hearing for this workshop, but I can see in terms of numbers that there are those who were not present during that workshop. Okay, without wasting time, I will want to go straight to the reason why I'm standing in front of you. The reason why I'm standing in front of you is to give you a snapshot or an overview of what is the legislature. The legislature mandate is derived from the Constitution. Angithi sonke siyayazi Constitution. Siyayazi Constitution. Ngine right ukuthi ngakhomba nombana asitshela noma ngicele oyedwa nje ongaphakamisa asitshela ukuthi yini Constitution. Khona singezolala. Oh, ngiyabonga ba.
Dumelang, ra leboga batshwari ba rona. Thank you very much. Constitution ke molaotheo wa country ya rona. Ya tsamaiso ya country ya rona. Gore country tla tsamaiswa jwang. So ke molaotheo. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much. Can you please give her a round of applause? Yes. When we're talking about the Constitution, we're talking about the supreme law of the country. We're talking about the supreme law of the country. All the laws that we have, like you will have the Schools Act, you will have health, the act that deals with issues of health, you will have your Road Traffic Management Act, and all those acts, all of them, they should speak to the Constitution. So I was saying, the legislature mandate is taken from the Constitution, that supreme law. The legislatures, they've got 4 mandates. One, The first mandate of the legislature is to make laws. Ne? Umsebenzi wokuqala we-legislature yini ukwenza imithetho. Ne? Why do we have laws? We'll have laws so that those laws, they will govern us as the people of South Africa and those who are here in this country. And second to that, we have laws so that the executive or the government can be able to do service delivery. Like for an example, you will have the School Act. When you're dealing with the School Act, there are certain stipulations that are there in that act. Like for an example, that the government should provide transport to those learners who are staying in areas that have a long distance from school. It is the responsibility of the government to do that. Ne? So that specific is in that act. So, as the chairperson has said when he was doing the welcoming address, you will find that the legislature will not sit every day in the legislature and make new laws every day. Sometimes when the technocrats and the members of the committee and the executive, when they are trying to implement, as I've said, the main function, according to me, of all the laws is to make sure that there is service delivery. Service goes to the people. So when you try to implement the act, like the act that you are here with, the Petitions Act, you find out that there are some gaps or there are areas in that act which are very difficult to implement. Then from time to time, the legislature will amend those acts such that it is easy for the executive and also for the executive to implement, because most specifically it is the executive that is charged in the Constitution also with the responsibility of service delivery. Yes, this act, as it is implemented by the legislature because the standing committee is based in the legislature. Then I will move to the second mandate of the legislature, which is oversight. Oversight, you cannot, as a person, do oversight over yourself. You'll realize or you'll remember that this year, 2024, on the 29th of May, all of us as South African citizens were expected to go and cast our votes. Ne? When we were casting our votes, we were casting our votes such that we were going to elect members who are going to represent us, you and me, in the National Assembly and in the various provincial legislatures. Each and every legislature has its own, each and every province have its own legislature. And here in Gauteng, we also have our own legislature, which is responsible for making laws that are suitable for people who are living in Gauteng. Okay. Oh, thank you, member. So, oversight, mangabe sikhuluma nge-oversight, ukuthi ama-members legislature anomsebenzi ukuthi abheke or ahlole ukuthi uhulumeni uyawenza yini lezinto lezi akufanele azenze. Uma ngabe uzobheka i-legislature mangabe iqala unyaka ngithi unyaka i-financial year iqala ngo-April. then the legislature will give various departments ibanikeze i-budget. I-legislature ayigcini nje ngokuthi ibanikeze imali ama-government departments ukuthi go and hambe niyokwenza lento leyo. I-legislature, they will come to the legislature and then they will ask for a budget. Then i-legislature will pass umthetho lo ozonikeza i-Department of Education, for an example, ubanikeze imali engaka ukuthi bazokwenza ukuthi. Then in the legislature we will have a portfolio committee on education. In Gauteng, for an example, we have 10 government departments, which means in the legislature we'll have 10 portfolio committees. Lama portfolio committees asezohlala abheke ukuthi lama government departments ayawenza yini umsebenzi according to i-budget le abathe bazoyenza. Uma ngabe bengayenzi, then they will come to the legislature, then the legislature will advise them. I-portfolio committee there will advise them ukuthi okay yenzani kanje kanje kanje, so that nizokwazi ukuthi nikwazi ukuthi niyenze budget ukuthi isebenze. That is oversight. Uma ngabe futhi sekuyophela unyaka njengalesikhathi sonyaka njengoba unyaka usuke ngasemaphethelweni, i-legislature futhi will also call ama-government departments to come to the legislature bazonikeza i-annual report ukuthi okay sasifikile legislature safeza sacela ukuthi you must give us imali engaka. Then sesenzile sesidilivile 1 2 3 izinto zakufanele si deliver depending ukuthi leyo department umsebenzi wayo yimuphi. Ngicela ukubuza, niya understand? Okay, thank you very much. So that is oversight. I was saying ukuthi oversight ngeke uzuyenze wena ukuthi uprima i-office la prima nama government department ngeke bazenzele bona oversight. So it is important that we have a legislature nama portfolio committees abazokwenza i-oversight. Then a legislature siphinde sibe futhi nama standing committees. Ama standing committees wona awakhiwe kuqondane nani nama government department, like the standing committee esikusona today. The standing committee lesikusona today is standing committee se petitions. Lesi sidila ngezikhalazo noma ngama petitions ukuthi njengoba Chairperson bese wachaza ukuthi uma ngabe mhlambe kune pothole, for an example, esihlala isikhathi eside, then uba nelungelo lokuthi ungacomplaina ucomplain e-legislature ngoba legislature iyona institution la nina kathi when mangabe nihamba niyovota navotela ama-public representatives ukuthi kube yona azokwenzenjani azon represent. Niyangithola ngithi? Then we move to the third function or third mandate of the legislature. The third mandate of the legislature is public participation. Njengoba sila, the constitution imandata i-legislature ukuthi mangabe kushaywa noma yimuphi umthetho, uma ngabe kushaywa noma umuphi umthetho, noma umthetho kuthiwa uqala phansi, umthetho uya initiatewa noma umthetho uya amendwa, like the bill lesingayo la, then i-legislature must go to the people and seek ukuthi babone ukuthi abantu bona bathi lo mthetho awumiswe kanjani ukuze ngoba lo mthetho lo uzosiza bona. Angithi la legislature we have like in South Africa we have a type of democracy which is called participatory democracy. So akufani ukuthi nizovele ngcine nje ngokuyovota then mangabe sekwenziwa imithetho then bese ningaparticipate. Into expectekile ukuthi niyenze from today moving forward ukuthi niyazi act, nazi le act la izoshintshwa khona, then bese niyaphinda futhi nenze ama submissions noma niyenze imfakela ukuthi nina nifuna le act ime kanjani ngoba le act izobe isiza nini. Niyangithola na? Yeah, so i-public participation. Kwi-public participation futhi legislature ayigcini lapho. Iza nama programs ukuthi for an example manje legislature sibhizi nge-senior citizens parliament. I-senior citizen sibiza bonke abantu abadala laba sebethatha i-pension ukuthi beze sibanikeze ama-topics, mangabe sibanikeze ama-topics bawa-discuss, then they will come with the resolution on those issues that affect them. Then bese a legislature, then they become processed a legislature. That is one form of public participation. So a legislature kuzo zonke inyanga hlale sinama programs ikakhulukazi ka public participation where sizohamba siye kuma communities. Kubalekile ke futhi ukuthi nginazisa ukuthi if nifuna ukuthi mhlambe nine NPO noma NGO noma ni club ningawazi ukuthi nifonele legislature nicela ukuthi sizonenzela i-workshop la nizobe sesichaze i-workshop isikhathi ni understand yonke into ukuthi i-legislature umsebenzi wayo yini nani sikwazi ukuthi sibe nayo in depth kodwa kulama parcel la banikeze wona ikhona izinto ezibhaliwe ukuthi i-legislature umsebenzi wawo wini nasemakhaya nganikeza ingane ukuthi ingane zinifundele nani nifunde nazi ukuthi yini umsebenzi we legislature. And then the last function of the legislature is cooperative governance. And njengoba la ama members ehleli lapha phambili khona ama members of the provincial legislature, then amongst them khona ikhansela elibuya kumasipala wala city of Johannesburg, that is cooperative governance. I'm sorry ngokuthi ngenxa yesikhathi ngisacela ukuthi ngigcine la ngiyacela ukuthi mangabe kukhona ofunayo ukuthi sizobenzela i-workshop singakwazi usibenzele singajahwa isikhathi mangabe siphela i-workshop or noma le public hearing ngizocela ukuthi banikeze ama number akasesunelisiwe mabuza okuyena responsible for i-city of Johannesburg. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabulela kakhulu Jabu for that presentation. I think it's important that we see in different areas of Sambakuzo that there are organized groups. For example, there would be an organized group there would be an organized group of young people, civil society organizations. You can always reach out to the public participation of the legislature. Bakhona ukunixelela uba yintoni role ye-legislature. Now let me tell you, there are many different acts in Gauteng ezathetha ngazo zithetha ukuthini, and how can you then use those different acts in ensuring into yobana we all hold executive accountable. I-executive ke ngo-MECs mhlawumbi xa sithetha nge-executive sithetha ngento enkulu and you may not be able to relate. I-executive iqala phaa ku-premier nabantu abakhokela nabo abazi-MECs. Le mithetho assists us masibona ukuthi kunama gaps on what they would have promised us. Sijonga umthetho uthini, sijonga ubana bawumosha phi umthetho, and how can we then hold them accountable and say but umthetho uthi bekumele ba uhamba ngolu hlobo. So we thank you so much Jabu. Sifike ke evuthweni ndaba of why we are here today. But we want to remind you that as we amend this bill, akusiyo bill yethu sizi members. Ours is to communicate what you are going to say here. We can't just come with laws that do not have a participation yabantu bethu and that do not reflect abantu bethu. So it's important that we are bringing this to you such that you have a voice, but you also shape the direction aligned to the Constitution of how this amendment bill. And I think we must really commend the work of the legislature in Gauteng. 2 years after the Constitution ye country ikhona, in 1996 and 1998, there was the first of its kind, the Petitions Act, before other provinces could think about having a Petitions Act. But also in 2002, when it was not working and there were gaps, it was amended. We are sitting now 12 years later and we are realizing it's not working, it's not servicing our people efficiently, and we are coming back to ourselves and we are saying, how do we then make it work seamlessly for our people, but also how do we hold accountable executive? We are sitting with a lot of service delivery bedlocks in this province. Where urhulumente goes unaccountable, and sininika ithuba ke ngoku lokuthi ningabantu baseGoli sixeleleni into yobana how can we hold executive accountable better, and that must then be reflected in your inputs. So we're going to receive now the presentation on the amendment bill that we're working on. It's of course from the principal bill on 2002 that was reviewed from the 1998 one. And what are the inputs that from other hearings that and the work that we have done, we have seen, where have we strengthened, but also we're saying we want your inputs in whatever that we'll be presenting. So I'll be then giving Ubabukia to then take us through the process of the bill overview, and he is from the legal unit of the legislature. So I am going to request that those who are writing, we write, such that if we have any clarity seeking questions and input after his presentation, Ubamundlo will then come in and take those questions and take the inputs. But if there is any clarity, but we have requested that in the presentation, they must present at the level, member Chabalala, of our people. We know that law can be very complicated and our people cannot easily comprehend. But we have said, let's reach to a level where our people can then understand what is this amendment bill, what it means for them, how can they contribute moving forward. So I'm going to give then to yourself, Baba, to then present. After that, we'll go straight to yourself, Member Ndlovu, to facilitate the questions and the input by the residents of City of Johannesburg. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Before I present, let me first take this opportunity to acknowledge the Chairperson, honorable members of the committee, colleagues, and everybody here present. Chair, with your permission, because I think it will be very challenging to present while standing. With your permission, can I then present while sitting, Chair? Thank you very much. Chair, I think in your introduction and my colleague there, yeah, I think I've been sitting there and listening. You made my work very easy. And as you have requested, I will try to simplify the bill so that at least at the end of the day, we are able to receive a meaningful and informed submission, which will then enable us, when we go back, to consolidate and produce what is called Petitions Amendment Act, Chair. As Chair have indicated, my name is Kiaubaka Sinkokile, and I'm from the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, and I will be the one presenting the Petitions Amendment Bill 2024. Chair, before I proceed, maybe I must just define or try and explain what is a petition. I don't want to take it for granted that everybody here sitting here understand what is a petition. In terms of our Gauteng Petitions Act number 5 of 2002, in its definition, a petition is a complaint brought or submitted to the legislature by a petitioner in line with the said act. Meaning that if you bring a complaint or a petition, that particular petition must be in line with the act. Because if it's not in line with the requirement of the act, then it's not a petition. So it's very important to make sure that we comply with what the act seeks to achieve. Now, why are we here? Today we are here with the Gauteng Petitions Amendment Bill 2024, which seeks to amend the Gauteng Petitions Act number 5 of 2002. So, what is the difference between the Act and a bill? The difference between the Act and the bill is that the Act can be enforced, but a bill cannot be enforced. Why? Because it's still a working document, it's a proposal. So today we are here with a proposal which we are submitting to you as required by the Constitution, because one of the requirements of the Constitution is that as much as the mandate of the legislature is to make laws, but in doing so, they should make sure that they take you along, meaning that you participate in that process, and that is why we are here. We are here guided by the Constitution. And the whole process, whatever we are doing here, we are guided, or if I may put it differently, that this process is regulated by our Constitution. So we are not doing anything that is against the Constitution. We are also guided by our standing rules, which is drafted in terms of Section 116 of the Constitution. So we are guided by these two documents. So whatever we are doing here, it must be in line with these two booklets. Chair, the amendment bill, which is before us today, let me just try and summarize so that when we go to the main amendment, at least we have an idea. This proposal or bill, it does nothing but it seeks to amend certain definition in your principal act, which is your Gauteng Petitions Act number 5 of 2002. So we are now bringing some definitions which were not there. We are making changes in the definition in the principal act. Again, we are trying to align, because we know municipalities, they also deal with petitions, and we will see when we present to you. This proposal is also trying to make sure that our act, once it comes an act, is aligned to the municipal petitions policy. There is an alignment, meaning that there should not be a conflict between the two functions. That is what this proposal seeks to achieve. Furthermore, it further strengthens the right of a petitioner to bring a petition to the legislature or to submit a petition. This is what this proposal or this bill seeks to achieve. It further encourages the citizens of Gauteng to exhaust internal remedies before coming to the legislature or before bringing a petition to the legislature. What do I mean by that? To exhaust internal remedies. In our principal act, which we are amending today, the Gauteng Petitions Act number 5 of 2002, it does not cover the issue of exhausting of internal remedies, whereby you will find that a petitioner submit a petition at the municipality or somewhere or at other institutions. And before that petitions can be attended to and be resolved, the petitioner comes again and submit another petition or same petition which has been submitted to that institution to the legislature. Now, we are saying, before you can come to the legislature, you as a petitioner, you are encouraged to first make sure that you have exhausted all those remedies before you can come to the legislature. But that is only if there was a petition submitted somewhere before. We are not talking about those petitions which is just submitted from the onset to the legislature. So you'll have to declare that there is no any other petition of this nature submitted to the other institution. This is the only petition. And then what the legislature will do, because there are processes in terms of the Petitions Act and our standing rules, then the petition committee will then look at your petition as to whether it complies with the requirement set in our standing rules and the Act. And once it qualifies, then the committee will then be able to entertain your petitions. I think that was in summary. As I've indicated, we haven't started with the presentation. I'm trying to introduce you to the topic. I mentioned from the beginning that this process is regulated by our constitution and our standing rules. And this is with specific reference to your section 119 of the Constitution, which gives a petitioner a right to submit a petition to the legislature. Read with Rule 196, Sub-Rule 2 of our standing rules, which states the same. We further look at Section 17 of our Constitution, which I'm just trying to demonstrate when I say this process is guided by the Constitution, why I'm saying that in our standing rules. Section 17 of our Constitution also provides a right of a petitioner to submit a petition to the legislature. Your Section 115 of the Constitution further gives the Standing Committee on Petitions to receive your petitions. That is Section 115 of our Constitution. We go further. Section 116 of the same Constitution, it provides that as much as the legislature is mandated or is empowered to receive your petition, and a petitioner in terms of 119 of the Constitution is empowered to submit a petition, we need to understand that in terms of Section 116 of the Constitution, that the Constitution does not provide procedures which must be followed when you submit your petitions, or it does not provide procedures as to how the committee must go about in dealing with your petitions. But then, what do we do in such situation? In the same breath, the same Section 116, it tells you that the legislature, that's why the legislature is empowered to determine their own internal arrangement. What do I mean by that? Then when you talk about Section 116 of the Constitution, that's where this document comes in, our standing rules, which guides, which talks about the determination of the legislature in dealing with their internal arrangement. So this booklet is not only there, it's also regulated, or it's also there in line with the Constitution, because the Constitution gives all 9 provinces or legislatures in our country to come up with their standing rules, which will guide them how they go about in dealing with their internal arrangement. Chair, we further go to Section 40 of our Constitution, which now brings the municipalities. We see we have, I'm not yet there, Caesar, which now deals with your councillors and or municipalities. Section 40 of the Constitution deals with your cooperative government. No, I'm not there, Chair. Yes. Section 40 of the Constitution deals with your cooperative government, meaning that it brings in your other institutions like your municipalities to cooperate, and also in that cooperation to make sure that the legislature on the municipalities in exercising their constitutional or mandate they don't encroach in other functions of other institutions. Having said that, I think it's clear, Chair, and I think it's understandable, we will be able to follow and make inputs. Now, let me go now to the presentation. Our presentations covers 9 amendments. So, our principal act, our Gauteng Petitions Act, Act 5 of 2002, has 19 sections. And then, out of those 19 sections, only 9 sections are affected by the amendments which are proposed or which appears in our Gauteng Petitions Amendment Bill of 2024. So we are only covering 9 sections out of the principal act. Those are the only sections that are affected. In our introduction, I think I did touch on the introduction earlier on as to why we are here and why this bill. I've indicated that it seeks to amend certain sections of the Principal Act, also seeks to align the municipal petitions policy with our bill. Your Clause 9, I'm now going to take you through to the clauses. The Clause 9 deals with the definition, which is your definition clause. As I've indicated that your definition clause is also affected. In your definitions clause, you will see that we are talking about your accounting officer. The definition of your accounting officer is affected. Your definition of the Constitution is affected. You will see there in our Principal Act or our main Act 5 of 2002. It talks about this is the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act 108. There's no such a thing. It's just your Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and that's it. So that is how that definition is affected. We just remove your 108 Act there. Your Clause 2, it covers your Section 17, and I did touch on your Section 17 when I was introducing the topic to you, to say that it gives the right to submission and processing of a petition. It further gives effect to our standing rules and promote public participation as well, because when you look at your Section 114 of our Constitution, it also empowers your legislature to initiate or to come up with a piece of legislation, because as my colleague was presenting, he did indicate that one of the mandates, without repeating, of the legislature is to make laws as public participation as well, and to make sure that your executive is accountable. So your Section 114 of the Constitution also gives the legislature powers to initiate. So that law-making process or mandate, it comes from our Constitution, which is your Section 114. So Clause 2 also covers the conduct or the business of the legislature. It requires that it must be open and transparent. So in whatever the legislature does, it needs to make sure that their processes it's open to the public, like today, and it's transparent. We have invited you, as required by the Constitution and the Section 17, to engage with you, to take inputs. Your Clause 3, which is totally there, this is a totally new clause in your Principal Act, Act 5 of 2002 of a petition. It deals with your Interpretation Act, meaning that in interpreting the act, which is your Petitions Act, and once this proposal, this bill becomes an act, you must make sure that you contextualize to make sure that in a manner that the act it's interpreted in a manner that it's understood. So you bring it contextualizing that, you must bear in mind that the interpretation is in line, or it's clear to everybody who seeks any explanation or understanding of that particular act. Your clause 4, it also provides for your submission of a petition, as I've indicated, and deals with certain sections which will be deleted, as I've indicated. You will see in our Principal Act, we talk about a group, when you bring a petition in a group. But then that group, in a mass. So that mass have since been amended, meaning that it's removed, that mass. So we'll see when we deal with those sections that is affected. And when you deal with the amendments, maybe I must just indicate, you will see in our amendments, there is a square brackets in bold, and there is also your underline. So maybe you will wonder as to what does the square brackets and your underline means. Your square brackets simply means that you are deleting. That is your square brackets when we go to the amendment. And then your underline is your insertion, meaning that whatever is underlined, it means that it's something that was not there before in the Principal Act, and now it's going to be included in your Principal Act. Your clause 5, as I've indicated in my introduction, this clause or this section is also going to be included, meaning that we'll see it will be underlined in our bill, or because it's an insertion, so it must be underlined because it was not there. So this is a total a new insertion or amendment. It was not there before. So we are bringing a new amendment to the Principal Act. And this requires a petitioner to exhaust internal remedies prior to submitting a petition to the legislature. As I've indicated, that before you bring your petition to the legislature, we must be satisfied that this petition is not receiving any attention somewhere or in any other institution. It's only submitted to the legislature. Your clause 6, it deals with your procedures, as I've indicated in your 116 of the Constitution, that the legislature are empowered. How empowered? We also have what is called your petitions regulations, which also assist the process of the committee in dealing with your petition. So clause 6 provides for the process that needs to be taken by the committee in processing your petitions. And after processing your petitions, it also requires a detailed report of a body or to whom a petition was submitted to the committee, to provide each and every step that was taken in addressing your complaint, as I've indicated that A petition is a complaint brought by a petitioner to the legislature. So clause 6 now requires that there must be a detailed report after everything, or after processing your petition. There must be a detailed report produced to show how or which steps were taken in trying to resolve your petition. Now we jump to your clause 12, and don't be surprised why, because I've indicated that not all the clauses are affected in our Principal Act. So now we are dealing with your clause 12, which also deals with reporting by the committee to the legislature. And this clause, what it seeks to achieve, or why this clause, why is it amended? Its main purpose, is to ensure that the committee or the legislature is responsive to the executive council in the province, which includes the response to petitions and all committees of the meeting. So all the meetings of the committee, there must be a report of all those meetings which were held by the committee in dealing with your petitions. And also, this also binds any institution, being, for an example, your executive, as the legislature plays an oversight over the executive. If a petition is being submitted to any of the department or referred, there must be a clear report as to how and which steps were taken to try and resolve your petition. So the committee must be taken through those steps, and hence this clause requires that the executive be responsive to the legislature, and that it simply deals with your oversight role of the legislature. Your clause 13, you know, the committee also, they do go out to our communities and engage, especially when they deal with these petitions. And when a petition is submitted to the legislature, there will be a requirement to provide evidence. So to add on what the petition it's saying. So there will be an evidence which is required by the committee. Now, this clause covers how that kind of a procedure must be dealt with. So when you are invited to give oral evidence to the committee when the committee is dealing with a petition, this clause, it brings in a procedure now to the Principal Act to say, this is a procedure, the committee, that you must follow in dealing with that evidence that will be brought when you are processing or when you are dealing with a petition. This is how you must go about. It also talks to the kind of the evidence that is required when there is a hearing or when the committee is dealing with petitions. So there is a kind of the evidence that is required. It's not open to every evidence. So there is a certain evidence that this clause seeks to clarify, to say this is the kind of evidence that the committee is looking for when you come and give an oral evidence to the committee when they deal with a hearing of a petition. Your clause 19, it deals with your short title. Your short title, you'll see in your act or in our bill, which is your proposal, as I've indicated for a better way of it. You're at the end of our bill, the last clause there, which is your clause 19, which will also be affected when we pass this bill to become an act. The only thing that will be affected there, for an example, this act, let's say if this bill is passed next year, it's just an example. Obviously the year will change because the year in which that act is passed or that bill is passed must be reflected, meaning that if it's passed next year, it will be Act 2025, and that is how it will be affected. So we felt that we should also explain that it will be affected, that bill also. It won't be 2024 because in our bill, you will see we are referring to your Gauteng Petitions Amendment Bill of 2024, but when it comes an act, depending as to which year maybe it will be passed, if it's next year, then the only thing that will be affected, it will be your year, which will be maybe your 2025. Now, let's deal with your amendments. Your norms and standard is brought in. It's a total new insertion to our principal act. Your norms and standard was not there before. Your norms and standard, it's a relationship between your municipalities and the legislature to make sure that the municipal petitions policy is aligned to this petitions amendment bill. So when it's passed and it becomes an act, that alignment and that relationship will be clearly clarified. It will be clear in the act once this bill is passed. That is just your preamble, which gives the background. As I've indicated, I've touched on those sections, your section 115, 116, section 40 of the Constitution, which recognizes the different spheres of government. I've touched on that to make sure that there's a friendly relations, meaning that there's a friendly relations between the municipalities and the legislature in dealing with the petitions. Amendment of Section 1, Act 5 of 2002, which is your Section 1. That section, as I've indicated, is affected, and now you will see those definitions which I was referring to. You will see those brackets that I was referring to, which is your deletion. We will see that underline I was talking about, which now signifies the insertion. The underline, it tells you that we are inserting a new definition there in the Principal Act. For an example, as I've indicated, that this bill seeks to amend certain definitions, and that the definition of the accounting officer, which is your secretary to your legislature, is affected. And as you can see there, it's the part that is affected is in brackets, which in the Principal Act reads as the person appointed in terms of Section 12, subsection 1A of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature Service Act of 1996. But now, it is now changed to say that accounting officer of the legislature, the secretary means the accounting officer of the legislature and includes any person acting in that position. So that is a new amendment. So the one in bracket is the old amendment, which is there in your principal act. Now, the new amendment which will appear there once this proposal is passed and it becomes an act will be there, that the secretary means the accounting officer of the legislature and includes any person acting in that position. And that is why it's underlined, and that is an insertion to the principal act. The definition of the witness is also affected there. Now, the new definition will mean that a witness means a person invited. So when you come and give any evidence, so the witness is defined as a person who is invited to, or someone, or subpoenaed to give a report to the matter before the committee. A matter referring a complaint or a petition brought to the legislature. That is your witness. So the definition of the witness in the Principal Act is also affected. Your definition of authority is also affected, and you will then read as the means a provincial department, including municipal council or other government institution that has jurisdiction over the matter raised. Because as you know, a petition can also be submitted to the public protector, not only to the legislature. So hence now the definition of the authority is defined in that manner so that it's clear. Amendment of your Section 2 of Act 5 of 2002, your objects, which covers, you see, when you look at your Principal Act, the object of the bill there, it's affected. And there we are saying under Section 2, sub 2 of your objects of the Principal Act, that the object of this act are to enact legislation required by Section 17 of the Constitution. So that is the new definition. That's why it's underlined. And further, in the same Section 2, subsection 1b, to further give effect to the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. It goes further, A, B, C, D, E, and F, to promote public participation in the province, to conduct the business of the legislature in an open and transparent manner, as I've explained before, that the legislature's functions or business must be open to the public, and to develop an implementation of effective accountability to the legislature's constituency, to further accelerate the culture of participatory democracy, and to effect the right of the petition in a manner which enables the person to obtain a fair hearing as simple and affordable as possible. So it further seeks to make sure that your right to petition is fully implemented as required by the Constitution. Your interpretation clause, as I've indicated, that that is a total new clause to the Principal Act. It's just to make sure that anybody picking up that piece of legislation and applying it must interpret its provision so as to give effect. You need to make sure that you give effect to Section 17 of the Constitution, which provides the right of a petitioner to submit a petition to the legislature. So you need to make sure when you interpret that act that you give effect to that, meaning that it must be implemented as required without infringing the right of a petitioner as required by your Section 17. Meaning that when you interpret it in line with the spirit of the Constitution, and bear in mind the Section 17 of the Constitution. And further, take it further when interpreting it as well, in trying to implement it, that you don't only consider the Constitution, but you also take into account any relevant law or code of practice in terms of the law and the contents of the public participation and the purpose of this act. So you must also look at other acts as well that is relevant to that process. Also, don't just look at the Constitution when you interpret it, meaning that it's a broad interpretation when you try to give effect and make sure that it's fully implemented. Try and be broad. Don't only focus on the Constitution. That is a new clause which deals with the interpretation of the Petitions Act. Section 3 of your Petitions Act is also affected, and that which deals with your general principles. As you can see there, there is a deletion. Why a deletion? Because there is brackets there. Section 3, subsection 1 of your Petition Act, it's affected there, and the words or the section that is affected is that a petitioner may submit a petition in any of the official language of the Republic of South Africa. And sub 2, the committee must A, respect, promote, and the rights of a petitioner provided for in this act. So in doing that, you must make sure that you promote and protect the right of a petitioner. When you deal with that petition, make sure that you promote the right of a petitioner. You don't infringe the right of the petitioner, because a petitioner has got the right to submit a petition in line with Section 17 as provided for by our Constitution. And also, make sure as a committee that you take appropriate steps to promote and facilitate participation by the citizens of the province in the process of the government of the province, and particularly those who are disadvantaged. Don't leave them behind. Subsection 3, the Speaker must also further promote and facilitate a fair and equitable process of considering petitions and submitting the legislature in terms of this act. So you need to make sure that there is a fair process. Nobody's right is affected in processing that petition. So under Section 3 sub 1, there is an insertion of the public there after the word facilitation in your principal act, which was not there before. And there's a deletion of participation by the citizens of the province there, and further an addition there is an insertion of considering petition. It's underlined. We go further. There is also a deletion there in brackets of government of the province, and also a deletion of the maximum. So that word in the Principal Act is also deleted. Once this proposal becomes an act and not a bill anymore, you won't see the word maximum there. Still under your section 3 sub 3, a petitioner in submitting a petitioner may submit a petition in any of the official languages of our country there. So you may submit a petition in any of the languages there. So that is an insertion there under section sub 3. Under section 4 of the Principal Act, subsection D there, section 4, sub 4D, the word mass or is deleted in section 4, subsection 4D. So that word mass or is deleted. Under section 5, as I've indicated that the requirement to exhaust your internal remedies was not there, or is not there as we speak in your Principal Act. And now we are inserting it in our section 5, subsection 4, to say a petitioner must first exhaust internal remedies before you can approach the legislature, or before you can think of submitting your petition to the legislature. Try and check whether that complaint, is there any way or any other means whereby it can be resolved or addressed before you can bring it to the legislature. But failing of which, if you come to the point to say that there is no help, there is no any way, there is nobody who can assist me in resolving this, I've knocked at all the doors and there is no prospect of success. So your last option then in terms of this section will be the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. Under clause 6 there, under section 6D, your municipal is deleted, there is in brackets, and then is replaced, and there's an insertion of the speaker of a council there. So that is a new insertion there. Also, there is a deletion which is currently there in your Principal Act, to say the committee must within 4 weeks give a detailed report. But then there is a proposal, instead of saying 4 weeks, to say that rather say 30 days, 30 working days, specific, we are specific, 30 working days after that referral of a petition, then the committee must then provide a detailed report on the steps taken by, or there must be a report, a detailed report after 30 days of a referral of a petition from the body to show how and the steps which were taken in trying to address that complaint. So you are given, or that body is given 30 working days to provide the legislature with that report of the steps taken in trying to deal with that complaint from a petitioner or to deal with that petition. It's no more 4 weeks, which it might not be clear in our Principal Act currently, but now we are specific to say 30 days, and which 30 days, 30 working days. And within that 30 working days, if that body or institution needs more time and it's unable to provide that report within that 30 days, and there is more time needed, the Executive Council or the Speaker of the municipal must inform the committee through the Speaker's office of the reason. You must give reason why you need that extension, because you are unable to provide that report within that 30 working days as required by that section. Now you realize that you need more time. Now, through the Speaker's office, being at municipalities, if they say the municipalities is your Executive Council, through your Speaker, you must then give reasons in requesting that extension, why more time is needed. Also, inform the committee and the Speaker as to when, give the date as to when you will be able to then provide them with that report. Don't just, this section is saying, you don't just say, I need an extension, I can't comply with the provisions of this act, I need more time, but you are unable to, you are not even giving them the date as to when that report will be required. But now this section now says, which is the new insertion, that give a date since you are unable and since you need more extension, then give a date as to when you will be ready. It's no more just left open like it is now in your principal act. Under your section 12, those are your just minor deletions there. For an example, your and your G is just your minor deletion. And then 12 subsection 5 there, the legislature in brackets is the deletion. May, whilst the committee is considering a petition, only conduct interpellation in respect of that petition relating to the process of considering the petition and not in respect of the merits thereof. So that section is deleted in our principal act there. Under section 12.4 there, now the committee, we are now earlier on talking about the reporting by a body or institution which now this petitioner had now submitted a petition to. Now, we are now referring now here under this section to now the committee, because the committee also, once they deal with your petition, they are required to also report to the House as to how and the steps taken and what was the outcome of your petition. So that is an insertion to say the committee must also prepare a report at least quarterly showing how they dealt with petitions which was submitted to the legislature, and how, for an example, it was considered. Also, it doesn't end there. They are also required to also come up with the annual written report which deals with all the activities of the committee. So they are required now, once this proposal becomes an act, to report quarterly about their activities, also to report annually to the legislature. That will be now the requirement. That will be the new insertion to the principal act. 12B, and those also are your insertions there. Also to make sure that once the petition is submitted, it is responded to within the time given by the committee to avoid keeping your petition or petitions for a very long time without being resolved. Also, every time, in most cases, when the committee embark on your public hearings, whereby there is a hearing about petitions, you will find out there and there that officials that comes from the department, especially those departments that are affected, of which a petition was submitted, they send people who are unable to take decisions, meaning that they are there, but they must first go back and consult and then be advised as to what the decision must be. That wastes time of the committee. Now, here in this section, subsection C of section 12, that it is now a requirement that senior officials and those people who are able to take decisions be sent to the hearings, so that at least does not waste unnecessary or waste time of the committee. I did touch on the issue of quarterly reports and your annual reports. Your Section 13, there is an amendment there, it's an addition, which is a minor deletion of and material of evidence. It deals with your evidence there. That will be removed from the Principal Act as well. And under Section 13 sub 5, there will be an insertion there which talks about everybody or anybody who comes to give evidence or to the hearing, it will be at your own cost. That one deals with your municipalities, the relationship between the municipality and the legislature, which is now your alignment of the municipal petitions policy and this amendment bill. So this section 14 seeks to bring that alignment, bring those insertions, which is a totally new insertions to the Principal Act, meaning that it was not there before. There under section 14 as well, there's a minor amendments there of your schedule. Your schedule 1, when you deal with issues affecting municipalities, will be removed there, that schedule 1, and then will be replaced by this act. So this act, which is the new insertion, will then replace schedule 1. Under your short title and commencement, once this proposal or the bill is passed, that is your last section of the bill. Like I said, if you can look at it there, it says once it's passed there, because when you draft in your future. Don't be surprised why we are not saying bill there, but we are saying this act, because we are anticipating that once it's passed, it will become an act. Hence, we are saying it will be called, that's your last clause. That is what this bill will be called. This act is called the Gauteng Petitions Amendment Act 2024, and that's it only if it's passed this year. If it's passed next year, which is 2025, then it will say this act is called the Gauteng Petitions Amendment Act of 2025. That is all from my side, Chair and honorable members, and thanks for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
No siyabonga babu ukiya uyizamile ke inde kakhulu le presentation, and I think with other hearings we'll try to make it as concise but also a bit of exciting. But angithi umthetho siyawazi unjani. Mawukhuluma ngama section kakhulu a constitution, it makes it extremely difficult, and I think we really tried to preach at the level of our people, but I could tell Member Ali as I was looking at abantu bakithi yababona abanye bayawazela abanye yabona ukuthi hey asikuva kahle ubuthini, but I am going to then abanye balambile and we understand. We will, yeah. We are leaning towards the end of the program. I'm going to quickly request Member Ndlovu, when the presentation is still fresh, to take any clarity-seeking question in relation to the presentation, and also any inputs. And immediately after that, makwenziwe vote of thanks abantu behleli phansi, I'm going to request the team ukuthi iqale ukunikeza abantu ama-packs behleli phansi without disturbing the proceedings, and then we'll then be left with one item. Yes, sikhona ukwenza vote of thanks sivale, but let's facilitate for now the questions and the input, and when we are done with the questions and the input to this amendment bill, i-team izongena ihambisa ama-packs abantu behleli bangadisturb umuntu ozolandela osehlelweni. Member Ndlovu.
Sanibonani futhi. Ninjani? Lamtsiba ntate sizamlibathi. Choro tletsi dithaka tsaka mo sliba banyane mo. Ntate sizamlibathi wa asikhulume. Lamtsiba. Yeah, maybe ne resolve le di TV. Naya ka isimple nyana. Kore renke the question so that where we need to clarify, re-clarify. Mara ngifuna nje ukwenza into ezimbalwa zicace. Ukuthi okokuqala, we are not starting a bill from scratch. Manimamele u-advocate Khosithebe, siyabonga advocate Khosithebe. Ya manimamele u-advocate Khosithebe, uchazile ukuthi kunama principal bills or what we call parental bills. So kune yaga 96, kune act also yaga 2002. So siya amenda. And the wash of foot, we are not amending everything. As you would have said, we are amending clause 1, clause 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, and 19. So which means ezinye izinto sesele asikakaboni ukuthi zishintshwe. That is number 1. And then number 2, then wasinikeza ama detail wala ma clause ukuthi sishintsha ini la, sifaka ini la. And all these things bekazama ukuzi explainer is to try and change umthetho so that usebenze kangconywana. Beka explainer ukuthi kunala sinipha khona amasipha abantu bethu ama rights amaningi, and then kwezinye kunala sipha khona i-legislature ipower ukuthi khona ukuthi executive ikhona uku-account. So konke lokhu sikwenzela ukuthi sikhona ukuthi sikhona uku-accounta emphakathini wethu. And then angangena ama-petition nje besaphelele emoyeni. So he has covered all those things, but of importance ile ukunjengoba sizama ukushintsha lemthetho, thina sikhona ukuzishintsha lemthetho without your input. That is why maba present abathe proposal le esiza nayo kini. So with your inputs, it will only be an act or a bill mase sifake lama input enu. Angithi thina legislature representa abantu. So now and then mesifuna ukushintsha umthetho mele size ebantwini nalo mthetho esiushintshayo so that abantu basho cha ningashintsha ku right cha ningashintshi yonke into isasemele iqhubeke the way ngakhona. So yiyo i reason yokuthi why we do these public hearings, and especially on amendments. So si amend ibill le bebayishilo Petitions Act mara si amend ama clause awu 9 ilawa bawa explainile bashilo ukuthi akhuluma ngani abo evidence ama time frames ama relations with the municipalities the reporting lines. So kune process ke masi amend ama bill we come here take your inputs but because I amendment akusi I 1 day process kubekwa amalanga kunama time frames like for this process esidila ngayo you have from today up until 22 zika November to can submit your input kule amendment eyenzakalayo. So you have now until the 22nd of November if you want to write an input. So what is going to happen now is that I'm going to take hands izandla ezifuna ukukhuluma ngalama clause awu 9 nangalama amendment siwa proposayo to the people of Gauteng. So abantu omunye nomunye uzoba ne 3 minutes yokukhuluma kusho ukuthi sizama ukuthi sicover as many people as we can. But if awukhulumanga today it's not the end of the day. You can still write today and submit a submission to us today. But if awubhalanga still namhlanje usafuna ukukhaya you analyze you digest the presentation, you still have time to write a submission to the legislature on or before the 22nd of November. So siyezwana mos. So nama process ayi3 ungakhuluma namhlanje ungabhala namhlanje ulethela any process yokugcina ukuthi ungazibhalela uyilethe legislature before i22 zika November. So ngizoqala ngezandla ke siqaleni ngapha cela uqale emuva ngizonipha ama number ne ngicela niwacrema ama number wenu because lento yama number inokuxabanisana umuntu nonke senabo 6 later on nami ngo6 so ngizonipha ama number emuva ngicela lo bhuti wesigqoka sukuma yebo mfowethu wena wesigqoka esimnyama yes ngicela uze phambili you are number 1 number 2 wesport eceleni kwakhe cela uze phambili you are number 2 number 3 ubhuti wekepisi eblue and then ngicela uze phambili number 4 ubhuti ohlele eceleni kwakhe number 5 uwa Slotman Lam can come in front number 6 uwe bhuti ngapha wamazaza afana nawami and then number 7 uwe Sister eceleni kwakhe wekepisi number 8 uwe ngesandla esimnyama esiphakamisele kwesinxele ngicela uze phambili number 9 sukuma mfowethu sukuma yebo lo ehlisisa yes number 9 imabhokobhoko number 10 ulobhuti lozayo nangu yeza number 10 number 11 umama ngapha ungasukuma mama wami and then number 12 umama osichazele ukuthi constitution yini. Do we have a number 13? Okay, number 13 uwe baba. Number 13 uwe. Number 14 isport nesigqoke green. Sinayo 15. Nangu 15 uwe mama. Ngeza phambili u16 nangu sinaye.
Number 9.
And then umama umdala ekulungile ngahlala phansi as long as sikhumbula inamba yakhe ne. So sinabantu abawu 16. So sinabantu abawu 16, which then means manje is 12:15, and if each of you uzokhuluma 3 minutes, then it means yoqeda ngo 1:03. Mara if niyakhatha isikhathi ama question are straight, we may finish earlier. So I'm just saying after 1:15, after 1:03, kumele wonke umuntu abasakhulumile ngequestion yakhe or clarity ayifunayo, and ngeke sibe ne second session. Ama questions wathatha once because angithi sishilo sinenye process. So it means mawungabuzanga manje uzobuza next time, Also si avoid ukuthi lo baba ngathi uyabuza bese ungikhumbuza something senginami ngiyaphakamisa sekunabantu abawu35 manje mele bakhuluma. So sivalile umunye nomunye wazi number yakhe singaqala ku number 1.
And Program Director, thank you, Nakintate Mahasha, for what 22. Before we give a question, I want to make a proposal. The session here is very important. However, at least one day, about 2 to 3 days. Rather than going to do this exercise alone, why can't we have a break group? Let the group go and discuss, come back and present a resolution. Otherwise, it's going to be a talk show from my experience. We've got a lot of things to discuss. Post-1994, 30 years, into democracy for hunger, unemployment, poverty, etc., etc. I don't know, Mr. Program Director, do you want to buy my ideas? Otherwise, it's going to be unfair. That's my proposal.
Siyabonga baba for the proposal. Number 2. Okay, number 1, you think explain. Ubaba into show you ati. Ilangeli 1 is not enough for relate discussion esiyenzayo. He proposal yakhe yokuqala. And he further says ukuthi kube ngcono mhlambe sikhona ukusebenza better. Ngcono siyenza ama group. Ahamba yo discussa bese ayabuya ngereport. Anginankinga mina nalokho babakushoyo. Inkinga enginayo ukuthi mhlambe if bekumele mhlambe sikudiscuss masiqala meeting. Because bekuzowenza meeting uhambe ngenye indlela. Mhlambe besizothatha abantu abayi3 la bahambe bayenza ama presentation ku those groups. Mara number 2 makakhuluma no number 3 no number 4 kemuva. Bazokhuluma nabo badile ngalento ubaba irezile so that kungabi indaba yethu kube indaba yenu ne. So number 2 makakhuluma must also touch on this proposal. Thank you. We can proceed.
Sanbonani okhulumayo Patience Dikoti from Ward 5. Mina eyami question iti we sajwayele ukufaka ama input wethu nama suggestions although singenama attachment ukuthi ukuze senze ama petition siyenze njani. Are you consider those papers esajwayele ukubhala ukuthi ama request wethu kuma community based kuwo yonke into esiyayicela for so many years yangayenzeki. We do have a right ukuthi siyenze I petition without attaching those documents na that back then because dala senza ama request and then akunanto ezenzakalayo kuma community esihlala kuwo. So bengibuza ukuthi there's a way yokuthi singayenza njalo lawo ma request na again or singayenza I petition without I attachment. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The question is noted. Number 3.
Oh, ngingakangeni la kuma questions am. Okay. Uthes support into kababa what ngithi mina siqhamuka kuma water different, so I'm not sure ukuthi that assignment is successful or not. So but ke noma kukhona lokho kodwa kumele sibe consider ukuthi siqhamuka kuma water difference, ama challenges are different. Okay, igama lami nguSiphiwe Isibongo Usibeko. I'm a dual residence ngise 39 ngise 51 at the same time. But le engiphakama i51 i51 ukhansela wakhona ukhansela Mngadi, i39 ukhansela wakhona ukhansela Lifa. So le ngikhuluma ngayo manje ngisukuma ngayo yile yase 39. Kune bottle stop umlong bottle stop between Kabinde and Xogile Street. Kunama phapha awu 3. So sa petitiona ngisa draw isithombe nje salapho. Sa petitiona senza konke. So kunenkinga yomsindo is from Monday to Sunday. So then sabona ukuthi nathi mara masisothi ubanga umsindo kakhulu usebusinessini asim allow ukuthi ke at least Friday, Saturday, Sunday sazi ukuthi kunomsindo. Mara umsindo uhamba Monday to Sunday, abantwana bayafunda, baya-affecteka. So namanje kusenzeka. So ubaba lo beka presenter ukhulume ngokuthi there must be a particular ukhulume ngama act, what there must be a particular what? Should the act might be in line with a particular act, no explanation. So then ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi uma si enforcer angifuni definition. Kungenzeka ukuthi thina si community i-enforcement sibambe wrong sengisho ngale case yalapha or uJMPD no SAPS. U-SAPS yes ekuvaleni bapunctual. Angazofa indlela kumele ba-enforce ngayo le. Hence angifuni ungidefinele, ngifuna ukuthi ungi-explainele ukuthi enforcement yini. But ekuvaleni bakhona ngesikhathi. But ekuzocontroleni umsindo abekho. So angazi ukuthi enforcement bayisebenza kanjani. Mhlambe ithi singayi-understand. Kule kwesi-2. So kulezi zinto lezi, do you do ama-site visit? Like ngikhuluma ngale ndawo yase-Orlando. Do you do site visit or nimela nje report from JMPD or SAPS ukuthi into yenziwe? Ile ngifuna ukuyazi ukuthi nawenza nama-site visit or nihlale ofisini nimele ama-reports. So yilokho. Yeah, I think, AS2, i-Joburg seyihambisana ne-current, angisebenzisa amafoni, ine-online petition. So engifuna ukwazi ukuthi lama amendment lawa akhona manje angeke I-affect na this online submission e-City of Joburg. So njoba ni-propose ama-online, I support lento le eniza nayo namhlanje. Ngiyabonga.
Yeah, number 4.
Yes, thank you very much. Greetings, colleagues. My name is Councillor Norman Fanam Konza. I'm from Ward 54. So I've got only one question around the rationale of deleting 4 weeks. Because when I do my maths, 4 weeks gives me 28 days. If it's working days, it's 20 days. Now, why would you make 30? I just want to understand the rationale of having fewer days and adding more days. Because if you say working days, the 4 weeks would have been 20 days. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor, and welcome. We were not aware that you are here. We would have acknowledged your presence. Thank you very much.
Sanibonani, njani? Ngithanda ukunibingelela kakhulu ma-legislator, ikakhulukazi mina concerned kuma-councillors about izindlu zabantu abadala. Ngumzukulu, ngisele nendlu yomuntu omdala. Municipality ifuna i-rent, ifuna ugesi subhadala. La i-government yethu isitshela ukuthi 35 somdala. Sizoyenza njani sihleli phakathi kwezindlu zabantu abadala singakhona ukubhadala ama-rent, singakhona ukwenza njani? Ngicela ningeneleni lapho because ikhansela nyaya kuyo but izongilahlela ngaphandle ngesizathu sokuthini ayikho. Ngicela ningeneleni lapho.
Sanma, or Kamalam Kanyisani. So yeah, now I think this is the opportunity whereby Ngakuluma like due to like environment says Pumagu like okay like so like ngabala like ngokubuza like okay like do you usually like do site visits like for example like Tina Eshan maybe let's say nabokoko nabomama then sicedile nesikolo like yeah, so like we are trying like different like types of opportunities, like we're busy applying up plus, but then things like are taking time, like as usually. Yeah, so like into like ngaba consent to go and like kuba like okay why like kungabi like ne fast reacted like parat like isn't like a status card kuba ne relax parat.
Kia leboga, nna ke Rainet Moabi from Ward 25, Momo Johannesburg. My first question, ke gore, in the presentation, they said a petition is a compliant to the constitution, haino pass, or it won't be submitted, or it won't be attended to. So what I need to know, or all of us, ko gore ha re petition ha re developer, it'll pass. What are the things that are to be in that petition? Because Ronante Romela the petition, we don't even get a feedback whether it passes or ya pasa. Udula dijara o satibori And then number 2, there's an area, more section 2, that talks to the objects. More the objects, there's one B that talks to a letter. I don't know what this letter is. Perhaps others do understand. But what is this letter? Because it says to give effect to the letter and spirit of the Constitution. I don't understand. Perhaps if I can get that understanding. And then more E, the objects. The objects at the beginning, Barile, the objects of this act are. So more area to develop an implementation. I think the working word there should have been ensure an implementation, not develop an implementation, or develop a mechanism to ensure the implementation. Okay. And the F, always the objects distataka two, again are two. But the F just say effect to the right, let's correct it. To effect persons' right to petition in a manner. Let it give a sense. I don't know if I'm, you caught me. Marabari le 3 minutes, I'm sure 3 minutes aka yo fela ke so fetse dilo tsaka. Yeah, is to effect, because the objects start with to, so it must be to effect persons' right to petition in a manner. Right, conclude. Again, that is what I thought should be, but it can be corrected. And then more section key interpretation, key section 1, 2. Modi insertion. Number 2, where it talks to section 17 of the Constitution, where it gives us the right to petition. It must say, any person interpreting this act too. Because at the beginning, there's a sentence that says, any person applying this act must interpret its provision so as to give effect to any person interpreting this act to make, to take, not must take. Correct, just to correct that. Okay. All right. I had a question, the definition, is the secretary, because you deleted the proposal, deletion, it's not a cast in stone, that there's a Provincial Legislature Act appointing the secretary. But what I wanted to know, as we say, the secretary is the accounting officer, legislature. Is the secretary the only accounting is in the legislature? Because if it's like that, then it means other people, officers that are in the legislature are not accounting officers. They not account to anybody. So I just want to understand that particular area. aba ske ba phaphatha matsoho ka hore nako ya ka ya fela. Ke kopa le ske la phaphatha matsoho, nako ya ka ya fela. I say please. And then more section 4, a ke re shebile sequence ya di petition. There's an omission, airing amendment of section 5 of the Act 5 of 2002. That was not inserted. You just started by talking to. Please let that be added. All right, and then there is functions of the committee. In the functions of the committee in general, I do not see anywhere where a response or there's a turnaround time, response to the petitioner. The only response is when the committee is to submit to the legislature quarterly or annually. But in this act, it is like we are ignoring that section 17, the Constitution. The petitioner, at least the petitioner is to receive the response, whether it is positive or negative by this time. That's why arena mo re itshwarella mo teng ha re kentse petition and re sa kry response in time, re thola after 3 years or whatever. So I'm requesting that as a function committee, let's also insert the response to the petitioner, so that when we make you to account, then we are able to refer to that particular loss. And on section 5, there's an area that is highlighted to remove municipal speaker. But when you page again on the recommendations, more Romans number 1, a member of the executive council or the speaker of the municipality. So it comes back again. So we don't know whether you are removing it or it must remain, because it is deleted that side, but it comes back again under the underlined insertions. More accountability by committee. Accountability to by committee. I don't know whether it should be accountability by committee. It is bold, meaning that I get a more or what, but okay, it's a section. Under one, it says the insertion year 12.4, number 1, the committee must prepare a report. At least quarterly. The meetings of the committees held on quarterly basis or on monthly basis? That's what I want to know. If it is on monthly basis, why should it be at least a quarter? I'm suggesting that we remove the word at least, because we will ask at the most. All right? So let's just make it firm that a report is prepared quarterly, not at least, because if it is at least it's quarterly. Even in 6 months, we can prepare it, because they said at least a quarter. Let it be a quarter, straight away. On 12B, number A, executive authority must ensure that they respond to the petition with the time given by the committee. Can we kindly specify that particular time? We don't know, for committee, if at which time, but let's, quickly look at the norms and standards. So this will make it a norm that at a specific time, which is so many days or whatever, then this is done. Because if we leave it open, that's where perhaps official lacks, because you know, it is open, you can do it anytime. But let's have those specific times.
Can
And
I
then
propose, ma?
The last one.
Is that the last one? Okay.
The last one is on the 30 days. The 30 days must also include 30 days on receipt, because it is just open. More 4 weeks, 30 days on receipt, 30 days on receipt of that referral. Then it will not delay. Thank you.
Bonga kakhulu mama. That was a lecture. So njengoba sishilo ukuthi bekuyi 3 minutes, why umama ngimiyekile. Laba abakhulume before bebangathathi 3 minutes. Mara also ngibonile ukuthi umama hayi indli yamthanda. Nala phambili uyathanda. So ngathi ukumstopa ayi ngizobe ngenikhawatha ngoba usirepresenta sibaningi la ngama views wakhe. Yes. And then mama la phambili labo bhuti nalabo sisi bathi kuzomela ube ne special arrangement nabo nizozibhala kakuhle lezi zinto. Yes. Number 8.
Ngibingelele igama lami nguNtomzodwa ngwakaDaimani ngisuka khona la eWard 22. Mhlawumbe kwami babuzingelwayo ileyo ukuthi mhlawumbe ngifisa ukwazi ukuthi ngoba nisimemile namhlanje ngicabanga ukuthi ukuchibiyela umthetho akusiyona into encane ifanele involve abantu abaningi. Mhlawumbe ithini into yenu kwinto yesibalo, mhlambe ngokubuka ama numbers enu, mhlambe seningasho ukuthi ngoba nila ePimville nibatholile abantu abangaka mhlambe sebengaba ingxenye yokuthatha isinqumo yini. Ngiaware ukuthi menisuka la angazi ngayiphi date nizoya kwezinye indawo futhi, kodwa sengishola ukuthi inumber if nibona iyananelisa yini ukuthi seningasho ukuthi niwenzile umsebenzi wenu. And then number 2 baba speaker number 6 ungikhavile, and then okugcina baba mhlambe ngifisa ukuchazela noma ngibuzwa noma ugogo noma ubani nishilo nathi umnyango wenu umnyango wokugcina kahle kahle uma ngizongenza ipetition. So ngifisa mhlambe masungiphendula ubabuzingelwayo mhlambe akwazi ukungichazela ukuze ngikwazi ukuyochazela ogogo ukuthi ngize ngifike eminyangweni wenu ngoba ogcina imiphi iminyango ekufanele ngiqale kuyona. Ngiyabonga.
Dumelang. Lebitso la ka ke Lemogile from Ward 21. Re na le problem ko Ward 21. Ke na le foundation ya bana ba 160. Re ba fa dijo daily. Ke feeding scheme. Problem e re na leng yona e re kopang gore legislature e re kenele ko yona. Dikolo tse di kwetsweng re hanetswa ka tsona. Right now ke na le ke file somebody ba tlo retsetsa library, motho o owner skolo o hana re fa class. So re entse petition, the community e entse petition ha mo le di parents to say dikolo skolo sele we need class so that bana ba kgona thola library. That guy ko Matubeng wa hana ka skolo. And as the NPOs, we are saying rea kopa legislature or e kenelle ku dikolong tse di dutseng, because Soweto e tletse ka youth e ngata e loreng ha isebetse and re need a space for agriculture ba hana ka tsona. And I'm glad today ho tletse youth e tlo kgona hore e ithute ka molao, because molao o mongata o re nkelwa di decision without youth ya rona e tseba, re nkelwa di decision without knowing rona as molegationing. So we are saying rona as the NPOs, as youth ya South Africa, we are glad le le teng mara dikolo tse di dutseng tse kwetsweng tse sa sebedisweng re kopa le re feng opportunity e kenywe ko molaong hore di NPOs di sebedise because right now so dula batho ba re sa ba tsebeng ka mo hara dikolo re na le di rape tse di etsahalang batho ba ko ntle ba na le di more rights more than us and ba na le di rights more than us ha re kgone ho etsa next as we speak ba occupy le dikolo tse ding ba di entse dintlo tsa bona whereas re na le batho ba rona ba ileng hore ha bana mo ba dulang we have the backyard gardens we are una le di space ko tsona dikolo tseo ha re kgone ho etsa next when we go to our councillors ba ya re faila now I have petition ya batho ba 240 please ke kopa o itlisa we are saying we need that school to occupy it ebe hore e sebedisa for the users ba tswang for rehab re ba sebedisetse that school bana ba rona for the library le the afternoon programs that guy occupy the space for nothing ha tswalo le Mosowetho o tswa Free State but una le right ya hore a re laole but as legislature ra tseba hore batho pele principle ya sebetsa re kopa le re mameleng thank you.
Ke kopa baba o tswa le rona officing linking the details tsa mama. Mama has raised a very important issue that there might be foreigners who reside in schools. So I think we must take it up. It's very, very important. Thank you. Kupaula Telang.
Dumelang mpagati. Dumelang legislature. Nna ke Gloria Matsau ke hlaha ko 20 ke reporta under councillor Mota ke mo mo committee under housing sector so bothata bo ke kopanang le bona normal bo bongata bo batho ba tlisang di complain ka bona ke hore housing a ke tsebe hore ba amendile a ke tsebe amendilwe jwang taba ya hore if you appear ko title deeding ya ko heno and then o ngodisitse RDP ha o sa khona ho thola RDP because wa appear ko title deeding ya ko heno and then e bohloko ke hore kana ko engwe ne ha ba check le hore le appear mo title deeding le kae o thola hore le 5 le mo title deeding mama o decide le fela hore orentate o decide le fela hore ere ke kenye bana ba ka ba le 5 mo title deeding yaka so how fitla housing ba re fela wena o na le plaque ya o dula o na le title deed so ha ba check hore ke ne ke kopa hore lo amend molao if possible hore ba check hore title deed e tla jwang o ithola jwang o ithotse jwang ba check hore le kae mo ntlong le because kana ko mo title deeding ya ntlo e lwanelwang and e bohloko hape ko re 5 re mo title deeding should I die ho tlo etsa lang ka bana baka and then ke sa gona ho thola RDP yaka okay number 2 ke ya Eskom o tlotla ne a fihle a chepe pavement are hani maybe jarete ke lebota la hao ya ka mohare Eskom a fihla chepe pavement ya hore etsa di paving maybe o thole mo 20 paving is smart Eskom wa fihla fela wa chepa fela ha ba o inform hore re tlo chepa ka osane or after 2 days they don't even inform you ba fihla ba chepa fela carelessly so and then ha ba tata ba siya o le jwalo ha ba tata ha o re bathong pavement ya ka ha ona hore le ka etsang molemonyana o mongwe hore maybe le pesha le khutlise ba re a se ha hao ke ka mo jareteng but what about the expenses also di entseng o khabisa jarete ya hao ka montle engwe hape ke hore bodi a ke tsebe re nka nako ho thola di humps di speed humps tse leng hore ho bana le di accident tse ngata o thole hore hona le sekolo kereke ere ke re dikolo kereke di crash mo strateng se one and then ha re kopa di speed humps yes councillor wa enka and then o tla nna o checkele ba tla nne ba o bolelle hore he okay o tla nako ngo phone o le teng councillor na councillor wa ka wa sebetsa. O tlo phone o le teng a fi o utlwe ba re okay e sa le mo processing. After 2 years hape waya it's still on process. But how long must it take? Re kopa time frame. Engwe hape ke ya hore hona je like re buile sontse re bua re sang re tlo thola neng report back. Are you going to call us ka tsela e so and then le re bolelle hore dilo tsa rona di arabilwe jwang or tse ding ba di declineile or what? Ke a leboha.
Ke a leboga dumelang bagolo, our legislators, le batswadi kaofela le o le tletseng. Ke na le concern first. My first concern ke gore we had a pre-education ya this event. And then Njabulo did his best and his colleagues we learned a lot. But today, if we had started in time, I feel we deny information, because if the information and nightly by taught, some of the questions wouldn't be asked now. I think Lenani plan, how the plan the event is. Make sure that you give us more space to sit Lerona. I think got the meeting hall, their consent. But they must get this education. Concerning we happy let's say act can be enforced. Now the Gauteng Legislature, meaning that if the act can be forced or the legislature can enforce it. How long does it take for it to be amended? Because due to the current situation in Moyon, due to the current situation, if there was evaluation and monitoring, we wouldn't have this internal union. What is the oversight committee doing to help? Because if there's something, we can't wait from 2008 to 2024 or whether. So some of the things that will be the public participation, because I still feel public participation. I also understand the bills, they are faith, we don't understand, and we come back to you and the government to say, link the decision without us. Whereas a little educated enough to say, public participation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I raised an issue abortion. It was a very thorny to the parents. But because we didn't understand it, public participation, and we should be made understood for public participation. Baba linteng, batanga decision on our behalf. Because my understanding is banna balitemba duty for public participation. By domains. But because we don't have more knowledge about it, so it's your duty as the legislature, with the different portfolios, to come down to us. The latter mama on correct and who attended the public benefits, who are correct. Do we ever come back to us that we corrected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the new amendment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Because our request is that the submission la amend. We want to be in a position that if someone comes to me and says, the amendment year 2005 says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm in a position to say, no, it changes. 1, 2, 3. So, la refa, ridulamo, harsats waro khwetsagala. Ke ntho tse re di kopa. Now, I think ya di lata le eng tse ding tse di cover, but my understanding go gore, English is very broad, it's not ours. It's very broad, it's not ours. Re kopile ka Tuesday gore le ka re tlela tse dingwe tseng ka di mother tongue. Maybe hale express it ka our mother tongue. It's not to say chairperson, but what do you molo ba robetse, they get bored because so they get bored. So re tlelentsha di language tse ding gore re dule, and o ka re le ka re fa tsona in time. Di tswa in time, re tle re dule mo tsona re di process. Ke lebogile. Thank you very much.
Ukhuluma pha ku sanibonani.
Oh, dumelang, sanibonani. Le kae? Teng, ke nna Kuku Ellen, ke dula ko Protea Glen Extension 11. Jwalo sa le ka tlhokofalela ke ngwana a bereka ko Chris Hani. Sa le batlisa tšhelete ya gage ya go tlhokofala fela. Ba ka mpha kgati ya gore ke sale ke ra ya go ja. So ka re ga ke ya ko teng ke bua le bona ba mpolelela gore tsamaya ko eno ko Petersburg re re go fileng yona mo bara e lokile ene gape sa bobedi ke le ka tšhaiswa ke condom ke tšhaiswa ke condom ka ba tshwarisa ba re ke ko mapodiseng ka mapodisa ka ba tshwarisa ra ba fitla le ona road fund sa le ba bile dipampiri tseo mo ha di tsamaye ha di nowhere jwalong ke santsane ke emetse yona road fund le gona yaanong a ba re selo a ba re next jwalo mare ke bile ke kry-ile social worker gona mo ke tlisitseng mo ke yona e reng e tla tsamaya ene ga re ya bara ba re ke tlise 3,000 gore ba mfe tšhelete yaka ene a ke tse 3,000 ko etse ya kae o lokile ke feditse
Okay, ra leboga Koko, ba tlonka ke yo ausi wa tla ko wena, tlonka di details tsa gago. Re tla zama go thusa go ya pele. Thank you. Ka kena ntate.
Ngiyabingelela umphakathi wonke. Sanibonani. I've been so much impressed about the aged people and their reasoning. They are so critical in their thinking that it's unbelievable. I'm not going to be long, I'll be very brief. I've been on the workshop on Tuesday, so much of what has been said, I have grasped it on Tuesday. Today, just a few points that I would like to make. The very first point, it's the definitions that have been used. The word petition, for this occasion, it has been defined as a complaint, but petition literally means a request. I'm passing that point. So now I'm taking this meeting to have request and complaint. The second point that I will point out is the question of communication. So many acts have been passed without our consent because we're not part of such gatherings. But the good part, I've asked that question on Tuesday. We have been assured that that process can be reversed. We can still go and argue some of the demonic clauses that are not protecting and enhancing our life as the citizens of this country. The third point, very briefly, from the clauses, Advocate, thanks very much. As we are speaking, it's like I was listening to judge someone. That's what I believe you will be. Yes, but there's a clause you have mentioned. The rest are fine, and I cannot comment at this stage due to time and people are hungry. So I would say I will sit down, compile everything that I have in mind and bring it in person to legislature. So finally, and in closure, for those like us who would like to submit online, there is an email address of Gauteng Legislature from the very same papers that we have. We could do that willingly. Who am I? I didn't say it. My name, when I was born, I was given the name of Tozamile Njabazimkhangile Ziyadaniswa Wagwamadiba. That's my surname. And with those words, I'm not going to be very long. I'll just like to say thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. May God bless.
Ke tla qala ka ho le dumedisa baetapele ba rona ra thaba hore le re amohelle re bitse hore re tlo discussa ka this year legislature hore se ke ka nka nako hore nna ke be mo mopele mo ke na le worry A1 e leng hore ke tsebe hore like consider this thing ya compliance. If you are a South African citizen, ho batleha, what do you call it, if you want to do any business or anything, you had to comply. But to my surprise, people from outside, I don't know if you do consider that, they just come in, no compliance, no tax, nothing. So that's the only thing as a legislator, I like consider that thing, it's killing ourselves. It's killing the country as a whole. Thank you. My name is Joseph.
Thank you, Brajo. Last one.
Sanbonani. Dumelang. Mina, I'm known as Mr. West or Prophet West. Ngizobuza nje 3 questions nje kuphela ku legislator ne POS. So Mnumzane Honorable Ndlovu, ngo 2023 sicelile eOrange Farm sathi sicela ukuthi i-recreation ne-sports or ne-arts isenzele ama-ground, isenzele i-arts center. Yes, Orange Farm, Region G, Ward 5. Sacela sathi akuna arts center Orange Farm, siyacela tswetswe bese Orlando lapha phezulu. We asked, we said, may you please assist us with a center whereby kids can come and then learn the arts and practice. Just yesterday, one of the mother had to go and Miss Koropo. When she came back, her son was raped because there's no facility where they can leave their children and be looked after. Thina be artists lele khaya si push artists train abantwana after school nama after care. We have to pay ama facility abo indawo esizirente because there's no center. There's not even a community center where we can go and facilitate these things or allow them to come. Siyacela for the last time. We don't want such incident to continue ekasilethu. We need your help. And then I want to know, how long does it take for you to hold somebody accountable after we have released a petition, after we have released a request unto you? Who, hey, young Tina land up, because it's been 2022, Sikeli Art Center, Namak to Tatlin, even up to today, says Batalele Mapogoti, so that we can keep people active. So, how long should we give you a chance to go to after how many months or how many years? Please answer me on that one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indawa ngiyamazi lo bhuti. That's why ngihleka ningamangali. Ngiyamazi lo bhuti. Mayibuza imibuzo uya faka u7. Asibonge kunesandla esi1 esimisile and bese sibiphelele nazi zibaningi. So ngicela ukuthi bangixolele. Ngicela ukuthi bangixolele. Kodwa njengoba ngishilo ngathi lama process maningi khona neyokubhala. So bangayenza ngale yokubhala khona ukubhala kwanamhlanje khona ukubhala bese uyise officeini before i22. Sengihlonipha nje meeting because ngithe mangivulela izandla ngasho ukuthi ngeke ngisavulele ezinye. So ngisaba ukuthi ngiphinde ngivulele ezinye futhi besiyi1 mangithi ngikhuluma ngaso mara siloko seziba uboma 5 6. So ngicela nje ukunihlonipha laba beniphakamise before bese ngithi laba abaphakamisile manje ngicela ukuthi bona at least bayenze ama written submission. so that ngingazivuleli futhi okwesibili izandla. Number 1. Number 2, ngizonikeza ama members wami to respond before advocate angene. Sizonika no advocate. Kuzoqala advocate and then after not to advocate Letswalo, advocate Khosithe lo bekayenza presentation. And then after kuzongena ama members but clarify if kunama issues okumele clarify. But just to take members through, questions are very few, but what we have is rather comments and other questions which are necessarily not petitions questions, but because we are a legislature and we are here, we listen to everyone. But the presentation was in the main in relation to a bill. So bazo respond a bill and then mabashile lezi ezinye nizibuzile, we will come back and engage on them. There are questions like, for example, which speaks ngabo RDP houses, and then there are questions ezikhuluma ngabo Eskom, bagupha ama charity bawashiya banjalo and everything. Those questions is part of umsebenzi we petitions or is part of umsebenzi we legislature. Mara khumbula ukuthi le committee leli kuba umsebenzi walo only mase nibhale I petition. Bara ngoba size ebantwini asithi umbuzo lo akusiwa le meeting, siyayithatha imbuzo yonke and they will respond where we can. Where it is not umsebenzi wethu, we refer. If umbuzo wakho bekowendlu njengoba sithatha ama contact and everything, siyonikeza I portfolio committee edila ngezindlu so that ikhona uku-answer better, because akumelanga ngithi sikuphendule nje bese sigcina sikutshela manga sisebenzi ngezindlu, sisebenza ngama petitions. So I'm saying our responses will be mainly based on questions that were asked on petitions. Mara ezinye izinto enizirezile which are important but ezidila nga different things outside petitions, we'll try and deal with them the way we deal with things. When we come, you ask us about sports, arts and culture, we take the question to sports, arts and culture. We respond where we can if the question is linked to the work that we are doing or the work that we are here for. But magu question we then take the question to the relevant committee and that committee must then respond. Sinama committee, I think of 16 legislature, if I'm not mistaken. From Kala ku Premier, une committee lenzi oversight ka Premier, kuze kuyofika ekugcineni ku committee enzi oversight yase legislature neyemithetho. So we are just one of those committees as petitions, mara sidila ngama petitions. And with that, I'm going to give to you Advocate Khositebe, and then immediately members can come through. Chairperson, you can take over your meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We'll allow Advocate to come in, and then it will be Member Chabalala, Member Ali, if there are any, you are sorted. No, but let's start with Advocate for now. Advocate Kia, if you can come in.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Member Ndlovu. Chair, I will just respond to some few questions which is related to the Act and the presentation. The issue of the definition of a petition. Yeah, it's true. When you look at your section 114 of the Constitution, it makes reference to a complaint and a request. So that is correct. And thank you so much. We will look at it. We promise. Because that's the reason why we are here, to come and take comments. Your comments, we are not going to throw them away. When we consolidate, we are going to look at those comments. So your submission is very helpful. It appears like that in the Constitution, your section 114. The request is there. Thank you very much. And then Mama made reference to what will then maybe guide the committee not to consider your petition. At which stage you will say, what will guide you to say this is not a petition? It's a pity that maybe the Principal Act, maybe we haven't gone through it, but like I said, we are not going through the whole act. Now, in your section 4, subsection 4 of your Principal Act 5 of 2002, that section makes reference to those requirements that will make your petition not to be considered a petition. For an example, if your petition is not clear to the committee, it won't be considered as a petition. So, hence, Section 114 of the Constitution says it must be in line. So, now, if it's not clear, if it's not signed by the petitioner, it won't be a petition. If it is then brought on behalf of certain group of people, and that group of people is not mentioned or is not clear in that petition, then it's not a petition. And that is in terms of your Section 4, subsection 5 of the Principal Act, which we are amending. And that section is not affected, meaning that once this proposal becomes an act, that section will still be there. Now, the errors and everything, we will look at it, but when we draft, the way that proposal appears, it's not gonna appear like that. When we go back, we will include your comments when we consolidate, and then the very same comments will then be effected to the main act, which will now become one. That's why you will see when we draft, when we remove, we'll just start with 2, which is when you write, we don't write like that. But when we are going to consolidate, that won't be the case. The issue of 20 day, or 30 days, why 30 days? Look, in your Principal Act, it's not clear. When you talk about 4 weeks, what is 4 weeks? 4 weeks of what? Are you talking to your weekends as well? Hence, we are saying 30 working days, so that at least it is clear as to how do we count the days, or what are we referring to, Chair. Now, I'll just pause there, Chair. I thought maybe those are only comments that I felt maybe I should comment to, but your comments, it's welcome, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Advocate. I know that we are busy receiving refreshments, but I want us then to give an opportunity to other members to respond maybe to some of the comments and the questions that would have been asked. I know Member Chabalala, you are covered. I will then give you Member Ali to speak to the questions and general comments that are submitted. But you are allowed to stand, but also if you are comfortable sitting down, you can.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I think mine is just to say thank you. I want to echo the words of Utad Madiba and Sambon ba uhleli pingoku, but I just want to say I'm like you, that today I'm also pleasantly amazed, surprised, and highly humbled and appreciative at least of the critical thinking that everybody who stood here today participated in. Diabulela kakhulu. It's my first of this engagement in government, so I learned a lot myself, and I think I want to speak to ngesilungu kuthiwa yi-symbiotic relationship, ne? It means it's give and take in a relationship. I-government isebenza kanjalo, and anyone in a position of governance or authority or leadership can tell you, Guti, I have a lot to learn from you. You know, I think it's important that we appreciate that fact. Usually in public gatherings, members of the public will come to anyone in authority and ask for help. Ne? It will be from the bottom, no, Hulumendi, please help us. But today, as legislators, we have come to you to ask you for help, and you have helped us a lot. You have given us critical input. You have given us a lot to think about and apply ourselves on. You've given us some homework. Nati, we were sitting here thinking, yeah, no, that's a very valid point. And for that, I just wanted to show appreciation and say, Ndiabulela, thank you so much. Re a leboga haholo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Ali. I remember, Ndlovu, as you were facilitating, I think you spoke to some of the questions, but let me allow you. After that, I'll give Member Lutwalo, and then I'll then come in. Immediately after myself, I'll then allow Member Lutwalo to do vote of thanks. I'll then come in to do the way forward. So, Member Ndlovu.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing much from me, as I said, that most of the contributions were rather comments than questions. But I just want, before I speak, to give to Advocate Khositewe. I want you to speak on timeframes, because this question kept on coming. How long submission, how long to respond, how long to take an action, how long to implement, and how long to act if there is no implementation. If we can speak to that, it's very important. I think the people are more worried as to when do we report back to them. That's one. But two, there was a question that speaks to the report back, whether after this process is done and concluded, will we come back and say, this is the output of the work that has been done. And maybe to respond to Professor West, I think it was the last engagement. I'm not sure if the municipality had responded, but at the level of the province, we did deal with the petition, and we did receive a response, which was in the main saying the radius in the Orange Farm of where we must, of where you were proposing a sports center is not conducive. You know, government, when you want a school, they say the school must be 5 kilometers away from each other. If it is nearer, they can't build a school. That is one. But two, the issue of fees, I think it must be taken up with the councillor, because it's a municipality, it's a municipal area. And then the councillor must assist there. You know, I know that there are fees in community centers at the municipal level, but I also know that these fees, they are not necessarily equal. If you are an NGO or doing a community work, you pay a certain money. But if you are a businessman coming for a certain business deal, you pay a certain money. Otherwise, Chair, it was comments, and then others are issues that we must address on one-on-one. I mean, there is somebody who said she stays in an RDP of an old person, but she has challenges to pay electricity, but the house does not belong to her. It's an issue that needs a one-on-one attention. There is umama ote ekaya banokunibhalisa ku title deed nibe 5, and then more apply the RDP. You can't get your own RDP because you apparently appear on the title deed, and it causes family fights. That thing, one. Two, it makes other people not to end up benefiting from the housing scheme. How can we intervene on that? I think also that's a one-on-one issue that needs human settlement. So I think I'm covered. Or another one that I would want to advocate to deal with is an issue of compliance. I think there was a lack of understanding what are we saying when we are saying compliance. So if maybe you can explain that when a person says he wants an RDP, this is in 1996, maybe that form, that C form, the form that she must come in legislature and fill. So just to explain to our people what do we mean when we say compliance, because it might leave them not understanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member Ndlovu. Let's allow you, Member Lutwalo, or do you want to come when you do closing remarks? All right. No, I just wanted to... Yes, I'll speak to that. Yeah, but we also, maybe when you do the vote of thanks as well, you'll then come. I can remember, members of the public, Bahlali, I think let's emphasize an issue around organized groups. For example, there would have been a submission about NGOs and the time thereof that would have been given to this process. You can still organize yourselves as different groups, old people, NGOs, youth sector, and input and write to ourselves up until the 22nd. So I think there's still plenty enough time. You now have infrastructure in terms of what is given to yourselves. You can then say, we think this is working, let's go research if this is not working, and then submit an input as an organized group. Maybe then it will speak to that 2 days, 3 days that we would have spoken to. I think Umemba Ndlovu makes mention around the issue here, housing and the title deed issues. There is no, I've never seen a title deed that has 5 people as a beneficiary to 1 person. But I think let's have an engagement outside and we see how we can assist Umama in relation to the submission. I because it is a human settlements issue. But let's see Uguti, how can we then assist and link them up. You can petition if you are not involved, and I'm worried, and I think this is part of the reasons why we are amending this act. Omasipala ababonakali ndawo in relation to responding to petitions. Because ideally petitions must start at the level of the municipality if it is municipal related. And when you have exhausted yourself as a petitioner, ufila ngathi awukhange on the submission, you can then come to us. But I think also an indication that the committee from the level of the municipality is not here. It means that there needs to be more work that is done in terms of the strengthening. And I think this bill speaks to address that. It speaks also because Anithi legislature has hold accountable umasipala, but at least then the bill will then be able to address an issue where municipalities do justice in terms of the petitions that are submitted to yourselves. So you can't have an ESCOM or a Wi-Fi company that comes in pavement without involving you. So you do have a right to petition. You petition the municipality if the project, if it was a provincial project, you can then bring it to the provincial legislature. And if you are not finding comfort maybe in your submission at the level of the local municipality, you can then bring it to ourselves. But I want to emphasize, there would have been a question about submitting online in City of Johannesburg. The Gauteng Provincial Legislature has an e-petitions system which has just been recently launched. And it makes a provision for you to submit a petition at the comfort of your home. You just go to the website, it gives you steps in terms of how you can also submit online those particular petitions. But also the committee itself in terms of the subunit, they are movable. Sometimes angithi umuntu akayazi ukuthi uyibhala kanjani petition, and maybe that is why abahlali befila ngathi hayi maybe amayiconsideranga because it's not in line. Bayakhona ukuza kuwe mawubafonele bakusiza ukufila amafomu, ubanike yonke sufficient evidence that speaks to the petition, and then we'll then consider that particular petition. I think it's true, there's a lot for us to learn, and this is why we're doing these processes, because we can't survive on just our knowledge. And I think it is it's an eye-opener that members of the public have so much to contribute, even lapho thina singabonanga khona, so we truly appreciate that. There are opportunities. We've received so many petitions in relation to people who are saying, I've submitted, I have a business, I've submitted my proposal for funding, there is no response. And I think if there are such petitions, continue to submit to us, because we are saying, whether it is I reject or we are going to give you good news as a department, bring that petition to ourselves, and the department must then be able to communicate, whether they reject your application, but they must communicate it. I think what really frustrates our people is that I submitted a proposal. I submitted for a bursary from provincial government and there was really no response. Maybe response would then assist us in terms of also easing the frustrations that we have. So there are plans underway. You are the first public participation. There would have been stakeholder participation that would have been done before in terms of the hearings. We are still going to go to other different regions like Yotwane, Sidibeng, West Rand, and Ekurhuleni. But this was the very first, and we felt that let us then cover not only Soweto, but other regions in this particular region of Johannesburg. I think Member Ltswalo in the closing remarks as well will just speak to what a committee can do and what a committee can't in terms of its mandate. But we would also want to meet some of the members that would have raised issues that we think we can assist on. But importantly, the work that we are doing, sometimes we are not empowered to overstep and go Maspala and say Maspala yenza kanjena. But at least now that we are going to have a bill, an act that will come into law, is as nedisa to then be able to say, but umthetho uthi, and then you must then be able. The issue of feedback, I think we need to really improve. And this is the frustration for our people. You submit, and then agna feedback, which I think it's what we really need to improve on. And we have taken those comments. We will improve, and I think this will also be done assisted by this amendment bill when it comes to an act. So I'll give you Advocate Litswalo to then come in and do closing remarks, but also speak to some of the issues that we may have left out as members. Thank you so much.
Leboeng ne ba setse ba le tlhaloseditse tse ngata akere mara ona le mo ka re ba tlohetse so ne ke re fane ka tlhaloso ona le mama botsitsong re ha ba re letter and spirit ba ra hore akere mo tsamaisong ya melaotheo re nang le ona re humana hore hona le molaotheo le reng o kodimo ha melao e leng teng ka morana ya rona ke ona re reng ke constitution ene molaotheo wa rona o constitution o kwetse ka ditlhaka mare a o felle mo ditlhakeng because lona ba ba leng teng ka mo bo mama ba ba buileng le bontate ba ba buileng a ke re ke lona le lwanetseng tokologo e re nang le ona e so re ra gore beyond mantswe ditlhaka tse di leng ka mora molaotheo go na le spirit se se guidang ditlhaka tse gore di nne teng a ke re so that is why the letter which is ditlhaka and the spirit ya molaotheo wa rona ko le reng o leka gore unite gore re nne le egolomente lo reng it's democratized akere yona re nang lona so ke rile maybe re fane ka tlhaloso mo ene re dumelana le mama gore the writing style ya melao ya rona e tshwantse e nne le consistency akere mama ke bone ntlene o e bontsha e le gore di two tse dintsi tse in the current the writing style ya melao ya rona o ka nna kwala fela 1 or 2 and then the remainder it follows. Wa bona ntwe mama e bua le nna ke bone because the last paragraph I na 2 when all others have got 2 so mama o gonno fana ka poniso ya re ntwe o lokisiwe advocate and then mama o botse gore mara secretary o accounting officer e le gore ba ba mbona as the accounting officer. So, hona le executive authority ka mora parliamentarona ya Gauteng e re mizan re ke speaker and then ko tlasa speaker na le accounting officer or reng ke secretary ya legislature kgotsa provincial parliament ya rona. And now o bereka ka matla e lo reng a tswa le ko speaker delegate and a hae matla le ena o kgono a delegate ko di managereng. Akere so borre ba ha o mona re advocate o na le matla mare o reportela ko ena accounting officer o re o ka re ke CEO. Akere la re tsena ka mara bara re kra ile re na le mme Nthabiseng akere ke ena CEO mara mme Nthabiseng o na le kwa reportang ko teng akere ko MEC. And then ba ba leng ka motlasa ha mme Nthabiseng maybe ke di clinical manager and so on. Ba derive matla from ko mme Nthabiseng ba accounta ko ena akere. So ke system ya delegation. And then response to petitioners e teng ba golo mo molaong o re wa amendang the original text e teng akere ya gore petition nngwe le nngwe he committee fetso shebana le yona almost immediately ma'am once the committee receive a petition now e be re dumelana le petition e ra e adopt. The next step go re tshwantse re kwalle petition or petition ya hao re fumane ebile re sekasekile re dumelane lona re tlo romela ko mafapheng a rileng akere so ra advise on the process or re nana re process ya rona e tlo tsa 30 days and 30 days ka nnete ke yona working days. The reason why there's a shift from 4 weeks akere ya ntla ne re 4 weeks bothata ka ntshwele ya rona re 4 weeks hona le dinako tse dintse le re motlhomong o tlo kra ile re in between hona le di holiday motlhomong wa kra ile re hona le hore legislator ka bo yona e kwalletswe akere and I khono salana le moramara ha re le 30 days it's definitive. The previous arrangement ne lo re fa mafapha 20 working days and then an extra 10 days. So na no re because ra bona re hona le makuanyana ya gore ba report within 20 working days are increase and re ba fen 30 days so that re sa ba jaga kudukudu akere re ba fenyana monyetla gore ba ska nna le excuse ya gore marara le fana kwa ala re fana go lo reng e tseneletse o re seke di petitions tse akere so that is why re change ntole ya 4 weeks re 30 days and 30 days you can even discern it or mean or it must be working days akere obviously ka di Saturday ka di Sontaga a ona motho lo reng o tla mo kra ile ro ka mora di kantoro tsa legislature. And then ne ona le khammole ya gore feedback ya rona magolo it's in 2 formats akere hona lo rena go ngoratla the way re tlile mo lona ka jeko mara kere Gauteng e na le ditikologo tso dintse di tseneletseng tse 5 akere a se fela tikologo ya ka mara Joburg hona le bo Sedibeng ke ko Val hona le Tshwane e le bitsang le re ke Pitora mara ke Tshwane hona le Ikuruleng akere hona le bo Westland. So committee ya rona mo nakong ya rileng e na le o tshakela mafelo a farolane e fana ka di report tsa mosebetsi o lorong ya wetsa. The only challenge gore la ile re ne re ratile re ka nna ntse re tlile ka Marapinville nete fela gore a go kgonagale ba go la because o tshwantse o ye le go ditukulogong tse dintse because ha o sa ye go teng batho ba go teng ba lla gore nna le re lebetse le focus tse fela go batho ba go Soweto akere and that is why hona lo nna le matsapanyana re tle mo lefelong le le wane kgapetsa mare a sore lona le badudi a le kgono itlhagisa go legislature le na le tokelo legislature ele ke parliament ya lona akere kore ko legislature o ka nna tsena any day wa re wa itse ne ke submitile petition ke kopa bona modulasetulo wa ile ro teng a kere or ke kopa bona ba ile ro ba thusana le modulasetulo ke bo mmele bo ntate ba ba le mo morao a kere la ba bona ya le gono ba kopa fela le tlhagise mare le thulagantse a kere nako ngwa ba tlo no tla fela le ra ara rulaganya gore o tlo fitla ka letsatsi le le rileng a kere mare beyond that hona le dilo tse re di bitsang mare ke di sittings tsa legislature di sittings gore ditulo tsa dikopano tsa legislature mo le re di committee tse tsotlhe tsa legislature di nna le kopanelo mo teng so le mo tsona di meetings le kgono itlhagisa a kere le dule mo di gallery tsa rona gore le kgono salana le morago le tsamaiso ya yona kopano eo and mo kopanong eo le tlo kry le gore go na le dintlha tse le di a tlhagelela tse di lebaneng le dikgang tse di farologaneng maybe ke dilo tsa sports maybe ke dilo tsa health maybe ke tsa social development maybe ke tsa education gore le lona le nne le kitso ya dikgang tse le gore di a sekasekiwa koo a kere so re batlo gore le rotloetsa gore di-meeting tse le di sa leng ko morago le di shebe le kgone go utlwa gore golomente ya lona e le berekela yang a kere bagolo ke a itse mo nakong e nngwe di-meeting tse di teng mo di-platformong tse di farologaneng tse re di bitsang re ke di-social media a kere legislature e na le Facebook e na le YouTube channel e le gore le ga e sala morago go na le dilo tse e ba re bitsang re ke Twitter o ka ra rena Instagram a kere a rena Instagram ya mara a kere le rutlwile Facebook Twitter YouTube o ba re le Instagram le ona teng so la ile gore a o kgone o fitla ko bofelong mo le gore legislature bo ko teng o kgone o sheba tsamaiso ya dikopano tsa legislature mo tsona di-platform tseo and then hona le mme mongwe o buile ka gore ei rona re itemogela mathata di-feeding scheme re bone bofelo bo le goreng ke sekolo se sa abandoned o tsene batho ba ile gore ma fritlhang mo bofelong bo a kere ne re ka rata gore ka re mme ole o na bua ka yona kganyela le ena a ka tsenye petition komiti ya rona e na le maatla o tsentshitse petition gore tshwana le Dr. Love a kere la mitse Dr. Love o mo kwalla pele o ratle gore ntate wa ntshwenya ka montlong mara o sa mo kwalla ka se kgonotle a kere re tshwana le public protect o mo kwalla pele o ra kgonotle a kere la utlwa bagolo so ne re ka kopa gore mme a kwale a fane ka tlhaloso ene re bo mme ba ba le mo morao mo ba teng gore ba mo thuse gore ke dikarolo tse feng tse tshwantse a di tsamaye gore a kgone o tsenya petition gore re kgone go thusana le ena a kere bagolo and then mo kganyele ya di-title deed mo mme na bontsha gore rona re palela kore re fumane monyetla wa re tshole di-RDP because mabitso a rona a tlhaelela ka mara di-title deed yes ke nnete wa kgonala gore ka nako nngwe o ka kry-a le gore we have got more than one person in a title deed ke ntho e re bitsang re ke joint ownership a kere or a shared ownership of a property depending on the different portion ya karolo e le gore wena o e file in that property a kere mara ha o le yao e le gore no na le kgatlego ya wa palaela RDP o kenya le affidavit a kere bagolo gore o supportana le application now ka o tsenya le affidavit o ra o ya go dikantorong tsa housing o kgone o fana ka tshupetso ya re although lebitso la ka le tlhaelela ka mara title deed e rileng nnete fela gore a ke nne mo le ntlong eo nnete gore a ke bereke so ke na le tlhoko ya gore nka fumana ntlo a kere and ha o sa kry thuso le wena o ka nna gatisa wa kwala petition and then rona re le committee ra shebisana le petition now ra thusana le wena a kere la utlwa bagolo so ne ke re clarify and then mama o buile mo a re ke na le ngwana o ka re ngile a nna mo accidenteng e be le gore ba RAF, Road Accident Fund, well I read the whole story akere tshwanetse re kopane le mama re batlo kopana le mama re kgone go shebisisa gore bothata ke eng gore mama a fuwe tšhelete le reng o nana gore e nyenyane akere ene bothata ke eng gore e nne gore mama a ya ko Christian o kry-a batho ba e le gore tshwanetse ba re a tshwanetse a ntshe tšhelete akere e le gore ba mmona gore ke koko le gore ga ana bokgoni ba rakantsha tšhelete so gore ba tlo thusana le unfortunately mama o kae mama o sa moema akere ya tlo thusana le wena nna ke bereka ka tsa maphelo ke modulasetulo wa komiti tse di shebaneng le maphelo mo Gauteng akere so re tla ya o mpha mabitso re botsise ko sepetlele gore why le tsa botsotsi le tsa mama botsotsi akere mo le re mba ile gore ne ba weletsa botsotsi akere mama re tlo thusana le wena ka bothata bo o re fitlhelele gore matsapa a rileng and then o ka re ke tsona dikgang tse e le gore ne di tlogetswe and then ya Eskom gore ke eng se etsang gore Eskom e tle mo bodulong ba rona e re ya lokisa e fetsa o lokisa mo le tlwetse di-pavement tsa rona di tlwetse fela yang and then rona tshwanetse re itukisetse ke bothata yo akere tshwanetse re nne le protocol ha o itemogela bothata bo mokhanselara ke ena motho wa ntlha because Eskom ha e tsene fela mo di-communities tsa rona ha e tsena e tshwanetse di presented to the council councilor e itse gore hey Eskom e tlile e tlo lokisa pala or e tlo lokisa station se gore motlhomong a ile gore affectile di-properties tsa lona go nne le commitment gore ba tla boaneng akere ba tla boaneng ba lokisa di-pavement tsa lona ba lokisa mabota lona or mo di-strateng tsa rona akere la e utlwa bagolo so le rona makhansela rona ra holding accountable ba tshwanetse ba re berekelela akere not everything can be raised in the legislature akere bagolo so re batla gore le makhansela ra lona le bona le ba kenyenyana mollo gore ba itlhwatlhwaetse gore ba kgone go thusana le lona mo ditletlebong tse le nang le tsone and then ko bofelelong ke kopilwe ke modulasetulo gore ke le leboe go fitlheng a lona go nneng ga lona utlwelele a lona le tse le dintshitseng in your submissions le thusana le komiti e gore e kgone go tla ka mola o reng o tlo berekelela setšhaba process e ke process e le goreng ultimate gore ko bofelelong objective a yona ke gore molao o e tshwanetse re o tiise gore komiti kgone go nna le maatla gore ga o tsentshitse tletlebo through petition re kgone go nna le maatla gore re bitse emise gore hey a wa thusana le morafe ka kgannye or since re submita petition ka nako e rileng a so ka lefana ka karabo akere that is the sum total ya amendment akere la utlwa bagolo lo introduce other forms around how you can submit your petitions akere lo utlwile ko ntlheng mare mo nakong e tlang le tla kgona go submita le di-petition o e kenya fela ka application o e tsenya ka ntho e re bitsang re ke e-petitions system akere re utlwile bagolo so re batla gore le di sale morago dikarolo tse tsa gore le ka tsenya yang di-petition so re rata le leboa ko mafelong a mang a rile re na le bona batho ba ba fetsa le gore ba seviwa ka lunchebe le gore a ba sa le teng mo meeting mare lona le bontshitse gore le tlhaloganya process and la e tlhompha and le rona ra le tlhompha that is why mo boetapeleng ba modulasetulo o sa la tsaya tshwetso a ra re yeng ko lefelong le le la Pimville mare re bitse le ba bang so re batlo le leboa gore le kgonne go fitlha le kgonne go dula ba bang ke bonkgono ba bang ke dithaka tsa rona ra leboga wa itse gore go tsenella re nana gore le mo nakong e tlang re tla bua ka mo akere mare re batlo gore le lona ha le utlwela gore re ile ko gong le se ka tshaba go tla ko le re sala morago akere gore le kgone go utlwa gore di-communities tse ding ditletlebo tsa bona ke eng akere so ka ona mantswe a gore le re letleleleng o re kwale meeting wa rona re kgone ho phatlalla modimo a nne le lona ka matsatsi a otlhe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Letswalo. Bahlali baseGoli, we have noted your contributions and your inputs. And the next stage from here, once we have done other public hearings in other regions, we are almost done. I know that mhlambi kuyatshisa, but can I at least be given this opportunity to thank you very much? I know umember Letswalo nibulele. We are going to have more of these engagements where we are taking legislature to the people, because we have noted that nazo hulumende through the premier and the MECs, and we do not know what is the role of the legislature. So we'll be having more programs, not maybe from the committee only, but more programs that will then be coming from the legislature. Lona ke ngumthetho wenu bahlali baseGoli, ngumthetho that we have inputted on, and tomorrow or in the next 10 years, abantwana xa benibuza ubana lo mthetho wawusuka phi, you are also going to be able to say, we know we inputted. And a process from here, when we are done with other regions, there will be a consolidation of all your inputs that you have done here orally and those that you are going to do through writing. I want Caesar to quickly just backbone. You are going to submit all your inputs to Caesar. Caesar is going to provide you with her email address after this for those that want to submit the written inputs. But Mama, please as well, we do want those inputs as well in writing, if you can just have her email as well, because we have noted, but I think it would be nice if we have a consolidated written input of those inputs that you have given us. And when we have done a consolidation, we will present all your inputs together with this bill to the House. The House will consider and adopt, and once it's been adopted, the Speaker will then sign, and then the Premier signs as well. Emva koko izaba ngumthetho. Please do use this law to your advantage. When it comes an act ingumthetho, use it to advantage, to petition without fear on any service delivery issues in this province. And we will not fail you. We come to you humble, because in as much as these are our friends sometimes in executive, but because abantu ababalulekileyo nini at the end of the day, and people are suffering on the ground is yourselves, and we will hold accountable executive only if you petition. So I want to truly thank you for affording us this opportunity to come to you, and I think Member Ali, you correctly put it. Sifunde lukhulu kuni namhlanje. Had we not opened this process, bekungekho nto besayifunda. Very important, the gadgets that we gave you, we are going to request that you return them. They have a tracker. Please do not live with them. We don't want to be embarrassed. They do have a tracker, so please let's return them. But sibuyela kakhulu, nibuyele emakhaya. To those that were not here, explain to them what this amendment bill seeks to do, and then you can then submit. I now declare this sitting of today officially closed. Thank you so much.